Family Cultivation. I can improve my magic weapon. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 526. Strong Status. Picking up loot on the battlefield. In order to avoid making enemies for nothing, Chen Qingyun looted the items on the ground, left the battlefield without looking closely, and continued to move forward. Because he had a confrontation with Nangang Yuang, he attracted the attention of many monks around him, who were paying attention to Chen Qingyun's movements. In the end, they found that there was no war, and they vaguely guessed that Nangang Yuang was afraid, so he didn't fight. Who is Nangang Yuang? He can make such a reaction, which obviously recognizes Chen Qingyun's strength. With Nangang Yuang taking the lead, the monks around him quickly recognized Chen Qingyun's status as a strong man, and did not dare to cross the line and avoid him from a distance. Sensing the surrounding aura moving away, Chen Qingyun smiled, which was the effect he wanted. This is what we monks should do. Whoever dares to come to fight, just fight. What's there to be afraid of? What about the 5 major sects? What can Nangang Yuang do? As long as the interests are in front, no matter what feelings, kill if you want to kill, fight if you want to fight. Coming to this world of immortal cultivation, throwing away your head, shedding your blood, fighting on the immortal road, fighting bloody battles, this is the real immortal cultivation. If the greenhouse can cultivate strong people, the 5 major sects will not open this secluded immortal mansion as a trial treasure land. Along the way, Chen Qingyun released 5 puppets of the God of Fire, the Chain Blade, the Black Tortoise, the Heavenly Sword, and the Sword Immortal to explore the way, sneaking around with the Earth Escape technique, replacing the Divine Consciousness as a reconnaissance. Once a living creature enters the vicinity of the puppet, Chen Qingyun will know it immediately. With the 5 elements puppet as a means of defense, along the way, Chen Qingyun stopped at a plain and rested for a while. During this period, he carefully checked Zhu Ziheng's belongings, holding 2 talismans in his hand. This Zhu Ziheng does have some connection with the Huo family. He also has the flame talisman in his hand. However, he did not stand up for the Huo family at the beginning. He never showed his face. It seems that he does not think much of the Huo family. The survival of the Huo family is nothing in Zhu Ziheng's eyes. Zhu Ziheng's belongings are indeed different from those of ordinary Purple Mansion cultivators. He has 2 Xuan Huo Chishan talismans among his talismans. Chen Qingyun personally asked about the power of such talismans and was deeply impressed. Now, if any blind cultivator dares to come and make trouble, he really wants to throw a talisman and beat the other party to a pulp. There are 3 high-grade spirit stones and 56 medium-grade spirit stones in the collection of spirit stones. This is the most precious gifter of spirit stones so far. There are few low-grade spirit stones. Zhu Ziheng had already exchanged them for the Immortal Mansion Jade card and purchased some equipment, leaving only a little over 20,000. There are few spirit stones on him. This is basically the case for all the cultivators participating in this event. The spiritual stone resources were used to obtain the Immortal Palace Jade card, purchase many equipment, elixirs, talismans, and even borrowed a lot of spiritual stones. After a quick inventory, there were 11 magic weapons, 3 of which were top-grade magic weapons, and the rest of the spiritual talismans were ordinary. As a quasi-natal magic weapon, the wind-splitting blade did not actually reach the category of natal magic weapons, and was classified as a top-grade magic weapon. It can destroy the golden magnetic shield with 1 strike. This flying blade is also a treasure, which is just right for me to use. Zhu Ziheng, you really came to give treasures on your own initiative, then I will accept them all. Chen Qingyun smiled, and immediately sacrificed the wind-splitting blade to strengthen the foundation of the magic weapon. After completing the inventory of the spoils, Chen Qingyun continued to move forward in peak condition. After walking for half a day, the scene along the way changed, and it was almost out of the plain area. Calculating the distance, this place is close to the end of the outer area. At most, It will take another day to reach the 5 elements spiritual domain area. On this afternoon, Chen Qingyun picked 6 third-level yellow stamen grasses. Suddenly, he sensed that more than 300 meters away, there were 2 auras fighting against each other, which seemed particularly violent. Then, there was a rumbling explosion, and the earth trembled slightly. Someone is fighting. Chen Qingyun stopped and was attracted by this strange feeling. But before he could sense it carefully, the 2 auras quickly dissipated and faded, like a flame extinguished. Huh? Chen Qingyun's eyes moved. There are only 2 possibilities for the disappearance of this aura. One is that a cultivator has restrained his aura and no longer released it to the outside world, wanting to hide himself. The other situation is that because of the outbreak of the battle, he was killed and the aura disappeared. But restraining the aura does not seem to be possible. It should not be that both auras are hidden at the same time. Moreover, if it is to be restrained and hidden, then why did it release the aura before? There must be something wrong when things are abnormal. Is it that a treasure has appeared? Or is it because of the scramble for the treasure that both sides suffered losses? The distance is so far, it won't hurt to go and take a look. Chen Qingyun controlled the black tortoise puppet and fled to the place where the breath disappeared, moving quickly underground. After a while, when he saw the situation there, Chen Qingyun understood what was going on. This is a battlefield, and there are 2 bodies lying on the ground. No, to be precise, it should be 2 incomplete bodies. Due to the fierce battle, the 2 men did not leave a complete body. Judging from the remaining fire element in the air and the strong smell of gunpowder, it seems that some kind of fire bomb was used. These are a Chonglu cultivator and a casual cultivator, 2 men. The Chonglu monk was lying on the ground with his face facing the ground, half of his body was cut open, and he looked horrible. The other casual cultivator had an even worse fate. His head was cut off and rolled to the side, and his headless body fell to the ground with many marks of burning on his body, which was completely unrecognizable. Judging from the 2 remaining cultivation auras, he would not exceed the late stage of Zaifu at most. Chen Qingyun did not know this unlucky guy. There were 3 magic weapons and more than a dozen exhausted talismans scattered on the ground. The sword marks, pits, and scorched earth marks of fire were particularly eye-catching. This level of battle can be described as fierce. This level of battle broke out only in the outer area. If there was no deep hatred or sufficient interest as an attraction, no one would want to waste energy here and fight a life-and-death battle. Is there a treasure here? Chen Qingyun quickly swept his eyes over the ground and did not see anything very valuable. It is not clear for the time being what caused the 2 to fight, and in the end both sides were injured. Since we are here, it is not too much to help collect the bodies and pick up a leak. Chen Qingyun ambushed 6 puppets around, paying attention to the surrounding dynamics to prevent other cultivators from being attracted and fighting again. When picking up leaks, you naturally cannot get yourself involved. It is always right to be cautious. The magic weapons on the ground are of good grade, all of which are top-grade magic weapons. Chen Qingyun quickly picked them up, and then fumbled around the 2 people and took off 2 storage bags. Chapter 527 Tiger Skin Map, 100-Eyed Monster. While Chen Qingyun was picking up the leak, there were also cultivators around who noticed the abnormality here and slowed down their pace a little, wanting to find out what was going on. However, just when someone was about to leave, a burst of aura swept across the sky, announcing the existence of the releaser, and the man's expression immediately changed. Purple, Mansion Peak. The Xingzong cultivator stopped immediately and dared not think of getting involved again. It's that guy surnamed Chen. Why is it him again? Identifying the aura emitted by Chen Qingyun, the Xingzong cultivator immediately decided not to provoke him, and avoided him from a distance, pretending not to see him. The place where Chen Qingyun was, releasing aura, announcing his existence, and intimidating the surroundings. This effect soon produced results. No one dared to disturb him. Chen Qingyun picked up the treasure, and released the refining fire, destroying the corpse and removing the traces, clearing the traces here, leaving no clues. After finishing all this, Chen Qingyun, under the protection of the 5 elements puppet, checked the 2 storage bags. As 2 mid-stage purple mansion cultivators, Their wealth was not too rich, and their combined wealth was about 1/5 of Zhuxiantu''s. There were too many miscellaneous things, such as a lot of robes, daily necessities, bottles and jars, and storage jade boxes. The two of them had almost consumed all the elixirs and talismans, leaving only a little. After searching carefully for a while, Chen Qingyun found some ordinary spiritual insects, all kinds of them. Most of them were caterpillars, locusts, moths, and a lot of rapeseed nectar, which seemed to be the food for bees. Insect cultivators. These fresh spiritual insects were all found in the storage bags of casual cultivators. The highest grade of spiritual insects was the first grade, which filled more than a dozen bottles and jars. The world is so big, and cultivators have their own hobbies, and there are some special hobbies. It is not surprising to find some strange and niche things in the storage bags. Perhaps this is really an insect cultivator. However, the spiritual insects on his body are too low grade, and he has only just entered the path of insect cultivation. If he has made some achievements in the path of insect cultivation, he should have left some traces of spiritual insects at the scene of the battle just now. It is not that he will not release spiritual insects to increase his chances of winning. What is the answer? It is still unclear now. Chen Qingyun continued to count the spoils, and was soon attracted by a beast skin map. The map was drawn with the fur of a second-level demon tiger, only the size of a palm. On the map, some terrain features were clearly marked, accompanied by some red and black marks. After a careful look, this is a partial map of the outer area of the Retreat Fairy Mansion, which seems to be a treasure map of some natural treasures. It is not easy to define whether it is real or not. What is the use of it and what is the purpose of the record? We can only guess now. But fortunately, the location recorded on the tiger skin map is not far from here. About 20 miles away. The distance was very close. Chen Qingyun packed up and decided to explore. Maybe this was really a treasure map? The secluded Immortal Palace opens once every 60 years, providing a stable growth period for the growth of various spiritual objects, and will not be frequently picked by cultivators. If the cultivators who participated in the previous session found spiritual herbs and medicines that are about to mature somewhere in the Immortal Palace, they can record the location first. Then, they can pick them during the next session of training in the Immortal Palace. This kind of spiritual object information can also be sold to other Taoist friends. What Chen Qingyun didn't know was that the previous golden source fruit was the opportunity that Zhu Ziheng had recorded, and he waited for 60 years. The primary goal of this trip to the Immortal Palace was the golden source fruit. But in the end, because of the appearance of the variable Shui Ningzu, the golden source fruit finally fell into Chen Qingyun's hands. Opportunities like spiritual fruits are particularly common in the Immortal Palace. Many cultivators who participated in the training of the Immortal Palace for the second or third time would first obtain resources outside the Immortal Palace and slow down their pace to the center of the Immortal Palace. The 3-year training period is actually enough to visit the entire Immortal Palace. More time is spent on training and fighting in various places, fighting monsters and fellow Taoists. This is an isolated arena, full of opportunities and blood. The strong who can finally walk out of here are enough to be recognized by the outside world. There are a total of 3 locations marked on the tiger skin map, 2 of which are recorded with red swords, which seem to be a warning and may be accompanied by danger. The other one is marked with a black sword, which is the farthest in terms of distance. Chen Qingyun held the map, thought about it, and decided to explore it, and went to one of the red sword marks first. Only 11 or 12 miles away, a moment later, Chen Qingyun had quietly arrived. This is an area deep in the dense forest, surrounded by vines. When Chen Qingyun first entered this vine area, he was attacked by these vines. This is a first-class soul-devouring vine that feeds on the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. If it senses the spiritual energy fluctuations of a cultivator, it will rush to attack. Chen Qingyun gathered his magic power and passed through hundreds of soul-devouring vines. He arrived at the area marked on the map and found 2 purple herbs here. His eyes lit up immediately. It's actually purple monkey flower. What a chance! It was unexpected to find purple monkey flower here. It was a timely help. Purple monkey flower is one of the main medicinal materials needed to refine the foundation building pill. The medicinal materials needed for refining are 100 years old for the best effect. The two purple monkey flowers in front of him, judging from their growth, have reached at least 100 years, which is enough to participate in the refining of foundation building pills. The things are good things, and the family just needs them. As long as they are brought back, Chen Dailin can start refining foundation building pills. Around the two purple monkey flowers, Chen Qingyun also found something else. Generally speaking, there are monsters guarding the surroundings of rare spiritual medicines. Monsters are also interested in such treasures. Even if they don't eat them, they will take them as private property. It was a creature the size of a cow, like a round hedgehog, with thorns all over its body, hiding in a messy nest. Between these thorns, there are green eyes, at least more than 20, which can be all round. Seeing this peculiar spherical monster with many eyes, a name quickly emerged in Chen Qingyun's mind. 100-eyed monster. This is a third-level middle-grade monster. Its thorns are poisonous. It can use its size to cast a spell, bewitching its prey into a trance or a state of unconsciousness. Often at this time, the 100-eyed monster will take advantage of the opportunity and launch a sudden attack with its swift speed, piercing its prey's body with its thorns and releasing deadly toxins. After discovering a 100-eyed monster here, Chen Qingyun subconsciously restrained his breath and slowed down his pace. Chapter 528, Easily Suppressed, Cliff Restriction. The 100-eyed monster is a rare beast in the Starseed. Occasionally, there are tribes that reproduce in the 10,000 monsters sea, and it is a rare species. The top 100-eyed monster has at least 100 eyes on its body, which can kill giant and monks head-on, and has a place in the monster world. When Chen Qingyun just entered this area, this 100-eyed monster discovered Chen Qingyun early with its visual advantage. Those pairs of green eyes stared straight at Chen Qingyun, which made people feel cold and creepy. With the five elements puppet to explore the way, as a means of investigation, Chen Qingyun naturally would not let a 100-eyed monster be tricked. Who discovers who first? The 100-eyed monster is not as resourceful as Chen Qingyun, and was discovered first and regarded as prey. When the 100-eyed monster released the toxins in its body and filled the thorns, Chen Qingyun was ruthless and took action first, controlling the black tortoise puppet and launched an attack on the 100-eyed monster. The Zhuxiantu puppet is famous for its defensive power. It also has the characteristics of a 5-element puppet. It can freely perform 5-element magic, and is proficient in earth escape and water escape. The 100-eyed demon prepared to attack early. The 16 eyes on its body facing the Zhuxiantu puppet suddenly exerted a bewitching effect, and there were black rays flowing in the pupils. This bewitching technique can work on purple mansion cultivators. As long as you are within 100 meters and look into the bewitching eyes of the 100-eyed demon, your soul will be instantly bewitched, and you will appear in a short state of trance and become a walking corpse. This situation is fatal in battle and is enough to become a flaw. The 100-eyed demon uses this bewitching technique to defeat the enemy and win. It is invincible and can attack creatures from all directions at the same time to achieve the effect of group attack. The Zhuxiantu puppet has no intelligence, let alone a soul. It is just a cold puppet magic weapon. Attack its soul? Where is the soul? The attack of the 100-eyed monster was directly immune. The black tortoise puppet didn't need to avoid it at all, and directly looked at the 100-eyed monster's gaze and attacked, with an expressionless indifference on his face, without any emotional fluctuations. The 100-eyed monster has its advantages, the means of killing enemies. The 5-elements puppet is no different. At this moment, there is no need for Chen Qingyun to show up in person. The black tortoise puppet firmly restrained the bewitching effect of the 100-eyed monster, and was not affected at all. The earth magic was performed. With a clatter, the gravel, soil, ore, etc. on the ground quickly condensed into sharp spikes, and stabbed fiercely at the 100-eyed monster. Facing more than a dozen sharp spikes that broke through the air, the 100-eyed monster was puzzled that his bewitching technique had no effect. Feeling the crisis coming, he had to move his body to avoid the attack. The 100-eyed monster moved very quickly, turning into a round black shadow, and quickly avoided the attack. like a flickering black shadow. Then, it chose to charge head-on, stretching out its thorns, turning into sharp spears, with deadly toxins at the tips. With a whoosh, the hundred-eyed monster sprinted at a swift speed and rushed towards the black tortoise puppet. A shield as tall as a person stood on the ground with a clang, and blocked the attack of the hundred-eyed monster with a bang. Under such impact, the sharp thorns were blocked, and the toxins on them did not play any role. Due to the rebound of the impact, the hundred-eyed monster was like a ball, and was bounced back all of a sudden, making the thorns on its body buzz and the venom fall to the ground. The black tortoise puppet is famous for its defensive power, and it can easily resist such an attack. Before the hundred-eyed monster could react, it changed to cast a fire spell. Puffing. A large amount of flame swept, forming a sea of fire, which heavily wrapped the hundred-eyed monster. At the same time, the ground was filled with rocks and dust. Dozens of ground spikes emerged from the ground, each of them extremely sharp, piercing the hundred-eyed monster. The sea of fire and ground spikes, two forces appeared at the same time, launching a pincer attack. The hundred-eyed monster was firmly restrained and could not break free. First, the ground spikes pierced its body, which was equivalent to being nailed to the ground, and then it was burned mercilessly and refined by the flames. This third-level monster could not survive more than 10 moves in front of the Zhuxiantu puppet. It let out a sharp and hoarse roar and was soon burned into charcoal. Hundred-eyed monster, kill it. Chen Qingyun won the battle by just driving a Zhuxiantu puppet with the innate advantage of immunity to soul attacks. After clearing the monster, the Zhuxiantu puppet sneaked into the ground and continued to be a good scout. Chen Qingyun picked 2 purple monkey flowers and put them in a jade box for proper storage. The red sword mark means there is a demon beast guarding it, so there is a high probability that there is also a demon beast that needs to be cleared at another red sword mark, which means there are spiritual objects there. After cleaning up the battlefield, Chen Qingyun spread out his body and headed towards a canyon in the east according to the map. In just 1 stick of incense, Chen Qingyun found the location recorded on the map in this canyon, which was also marked with a red sword. The only difference is that the treasure opportunity here is not a spiritual medicine. After a glance around, no valuable spiritual objects appeared in the surrounding area. It is not known what is worth recording on the map for the time being. It is indeed this place. How can there be nothing? It is strange. You are not wrong. Chen Qingyun checked the map and stopped in front of a hidden cliff in this canyon. Paying attention to every plant and tree here, he only observed for a while and soon realized that it was unusual. There is a ban. A restriction was set up here artificially, hiding the topography and environment, disguising the world as an ordinary cliff. Chen Qingyun had come into contact with many restrictions, and the restrictions themselves had some commonalities with the array patterns, so they were easy to identify. Therefore, he could recognize the general function of this restriction at a glance. Judging from the strength of the restriction, this restriction reached the 3rd level upper grade, and ordinary purple mansion cultivators did not have such means. I think the maker of the map would be a 3rd level array master. The 3rd level restriction is equivalent to the 3rd level array, and both are made by the array master. That is to say, among the 2 unlucky guys, one of their friends or relatives has a 3rd level array master. Because there were no items and resources related to the array master in the storage bags of the 2 people, it means that neither of them is an array master. So why did they fight and kill each other? Chen Qingyun speculated that it was either a conflict of grievances that could not be resolved and reached the point of no return. Another situation is that the conflict broke out over this tiger skin map. The fact is that this tiger skin map was made by Zhuxiantu, a Chonglu monk. This tiger skin map was bought by Zhuxiantu from his uncle 10 years ago for 50,000 spirit stones. His uncle was named Zhuxiantu, who was a 3rd level middle grade formation master of Chonglu. With the cultivation of the late Purple Mansion, he participated in the last session of the Immortal Mansion training and found some opportunities in the Immortal Mansion. Chapter 529, Cave Spirit Tree, 6-Winged Miasma Bee. This tiger skin map was written by Zhuxiantu. Due to lack of ability at that time, the maturity period of spiritual objects had not yet reached, so he deliberately recorded it. After completing his training, more than 20 years later, Zhuxiantu had good luck and successfully condensed the golden elixir, and then sold the map to his descendant Zhuxian. With this map, Zhuxian's goal will be very clear later. With the help of Zhuxiantu, Zhuxian obtained a piece of Xianyu mansion card, prepared the resources and items that needed to be prepared, and participated in this experience. Later, due to conflicts of grudges, a big battle broke out with the casual cultivator, which ended in a lose-lose outcome for Chen Qingyun. There is God's will in the dark. Chen Qingyun didn't know the reason for this, so he thought he was lucky and went to explore with the tiger skin map. If there were treasures, he couldn't miss them. It's just an ordinary canyon, but it's willing to hide this area with a third-level restriction. With such a big effort, the treasures inside are probably not simple. Chen Qingyun's eyes flashed. In the eyes of outsiders, the third-level ban is quite tricky, time-consuming and labor-intensive. It will not be possible to crack it for a while, so we can only look at it in despair. Chen Qingyun has the forbidden breaking bead in his hand, which can even break through the restrictions placed by the ancestor of the heavenly puppet in the Black Turtle Cave. If you want to break this small third-level restriction, it's no problem. Out of the principle of caution, in order to prevent something difficult and dangerous from being sealed behind the ban, Chen Qingyun would certainly not take risks. If this was a trap and ambush, it would be even more impossible to get in by yourself. Chen Qingyun himself did not step forward, but communicated with the underground Vulcan puppet to launch an operation to break the restriction. The Vulcan puppet emerged from the ground, and as the storage ring on Chen Qingyun's fingertips flashed, a third-level forbidden breaking bead appeared. The Vulcan puppet received the order, held the forbidden breaking bead, and strode towards the forbidden direction. Chen Qingyun unfolded the mirage beads and purple spirit robe at the same time, and lurked not far away, hiding his figure and breath. Standing in front of the ban, following Chen Qingyun's instructions, the Vulcan puppet emits a strange light after injecting mana into it. The orb moved in the air, exerting the power to break the restriction, and merged directly into the restriction, creating a wave. The breaking of the ban this time is a violent dismantling of the ban, and there is no need to hold anything back. In just a few breaths, this forbidden rune became chaotic and was cracked, disintegrating like ice and snow melting. As the restriction disappeared and the power dissipated, the Vulcan puppet assumed a state of fending off the enemy, staring closely ahead. The expected danger did not appear, and the atmosphere was still so peaceful. Looking closely, what appeared in front of me was a cave with a diameter of 1.5 meters, which could only accommodate a child. The beast slayer? The light in the entrance of the cave was dim, and it was difficult to see what was inside. It looked like a big mouth of a ferocious beast that chose people to eat. Chen Qingyun couldn't figure out what this was about. "You're all here, let's go in and take a look." The Vulcan puppet raised his palm, and there was a flame burning and beating in his hand as it walked towards the dark cave entrance. After bending down and entering the cave, the depth of the cave reached about 90 meters. Under the light of the fire, a space was naturally formed inside, with an area of about 100 cubic meters. In the entire cave, the environment is desolate and silent, with only one big tree as the only touch of green, dotting the monotonous environment here and becoming the most eye-catching color. This can only be seen clearly under the light of the fire, otherwise you will be unable to see anything and can't see anything. In such a dark cave, there is actually a tree growing. This tree is no ordinary tree. Chen Qingyun originally thought that this time the opportunity would be overwhelming, and he would encounter the spirit tree opportunity again. When I looked at it carefully, I found that this tree was just an ordinary first-order spiritual tree, yin apricot tree. The yin apricot tree is a yin-cold spiritual tree that cannot see sunlight. Once it is exposed to sunlight for a long time, it will wither and die. Therefore, this dark apricot tree can only grow underground or in dark caves. It relies on absorbing the aura of heaven and earth, and the aura in the land to survive and multiply. The apricot fruits produced by this kind of tree are about the size of lychees, which are of great use to ghost cultivators. It can assist ghosts in advanced cultivation, cultivate ghosts, and condense the cold energy. It is also called ghost apricot and is loved by ghost cultivators. An adult apricot tree can produce about 20 fruits in 10 years. At present, it seems that the fruits on this tree have disappeared, as if they were eaten by something, and not a single one is left. Generally speaking, ordinary monsters would not be interested in such spiritual fruits that are extremely dark and cold. Only rare ice attribute monsters or ghosts like it. Are there ghosts in this cave? Chen Qingyun controlled the Vulcan puppet and looked around, the firelight reflecting the puppet's dull expression. As can be seen, it is still quiet here. There are no ghosts, and they don't appear to be very intrusive. Soon, Chen Qingyun finally made a discovery. I saw an insect nest built on the apricot tree, near the end of the tree. This insect nest is light green in color and has a camouflage effect. It is like a honeycomb with holes under the cover of leaves. It is difficult to spot it unless you look carefully. Seeing the insect nest, Chen Qingyun had a guess in his mind. Maybe this is a chance for spiritual insects, some kind of spiritual being similar to the jade spirit bee. However, the Vulcan puppet should have alerted the insects by stepping into this place. But why didn't the insect nest move and the insects fly out? Just as Chen Qingyun was thinking about it, in the insect nest on the tree, a spirit insect soon emerged, flapping its wings and making a slight buzzing sound, which was particularly clear in the silent cave. Seeing the spirit insect appear, the Vulcan puppet shared the vision and looked at it intently. I saw that this spirit insect was the size of a copper coin, with a scarlet body and a poisonous stinger on its buttocks. The most conspicuous thing was that it had 6 wings, with 3 pairs of wings as thin as cicada wings. 6-winged miasma bee. Such a prominent feature, scarlet, 6 wings, immediately made Chen Qingyun exclaim in surprise. I didn't expect that there is a group of ancient spiritual insects breeding here. These are 3rd-level high-quality spiritual insects. The 6-winged miasma bee is an ancient spiritual insect with a gentle personality, easy to tame and raise, and very aggressive against the enemy. According to records, this race is almost extinct. They like to eat strange and poisonous miasma and are the nemesis of miasma in the world. The power of the 6-winged miasma bee lies in its ability to release miasma. Once a living being is infected, it will die immediately. Even giant and cultivators are not immune. They are afraid of such terrible miasma and will stay away from it. A group of 6-winged miasma bees are enough to release poisonous miasma, forming a miasma cloud that covers one side, which is why it is named. Chapter 530 Blood Red Queen Bee. Capture them all. Ha ha ha. I didn't expect that I could encounter such an ancient spiritual insect. Chen Qingyun, if you can't catch them this time, it would be a bit unreasonable. Found the 6-winged miasma cloud bee here, Chen Qingyun was secretly happy, and was already eager to try and catch it. No wonder that not long ago, rapeseed nectar and bottles and jars used to store spiritual insects appeared in the storage bag of that casual cultivator. These things were prepared in advance and have their own uses. It is obvious that the 6-winged miasma cloud bee, as a kind of bee, likes to take poisonous miasma. But they are still interested in nectar and pollen. This rapeseed nectar is basically effective against all bees and is very popular. With natural bait in hand and a spiritual beast bag on the body, this opportunity of spiritual insects cannot be missed. Let's not talk about how to breed it first, let's catch it first. Once hundreds of 6-winged miasma bees are cultivated and released, they will be a huge mass, enough to confront giant and cultivators head-on. This kind of spiritual insect is most suitable for attacking the enemy by surprise without affecting its own battle. If there are more thousands or tens of thousands, the effect will be even more amazing, and it can exert a huge combat advantage. After the 6-winged miasma bee appeared, it did not fly around the ginseng tree. It was quite familiar with this old friend. Instead, it circled around to see if there was any food to take. At this time, it saw the fire at a glance and discovered the existence of the Vulcan puppet. Because it has some spiritual intelligence, this 6-winged miasma bee vibrated its wings and slowly flew towards the Vulcan puppet, Wanting to find out. The forbidden air formation here will not have any restrictive effect on such small and light spiritual insects. The small spiritual insects in the secluded immortal palace, as long as they are not larger than an egg, can fly freely, becoming a special case. This also led to the scarcity of flying spirit insects in the immortal mansion. Even if there were any, they were small and good at living and breeding in groups. The six-winged miasma bee was extremely vigilant at a distance of 5 or 6 meters from the fire god puppet, because it was active and lively by nature and good at fighting. It was not afraid of strangers at all. Seeing that the fire god puppet was motionless, it subconsciously regarded it as a potential threat. It flapped its wings and its small size seemed extremely flexible. Relying on the advantage of 6 wings, it suddenly accelerated in the air, leaving the residual image, and quickly approached the fire god puppet. It swung the sharp stinger on its buttocks and stabbed at the head of the fire god puppet quickly to drive away this uninvited guest. With a ding, the stinger hit the face of the fire god puppet. Because the gold magic was deployed, the defense was extremely amazing, and the fire god puppet blocked the attack of the stinger in one fell swoop. The attack did not pierce the opponent's skin. The six-winged miasma cloud bee was puzzled and continued to swing its stinger and stab. The deadly toxins gathered on the stinger, and it stabbed 5 or 6 times in a row, but the result was still the same. This result made the six-winged miasma cloud bee anxious. Why couldn't it stab open? It was anxious and a little angry, so it opened its mouth and vomited, releasing all the toxins accumulated in its abdominal cavity for many years. These miasma poisons were absorbed and obtained from the surrounding area, which could easily poison the Purple Mansion monks and swept in an instant. At this moment, the poisonous miasma surged like wisps of smoke, spreading between the mouth and nose of the Vulcan puppet. Is the Vulcan puppet afraid of toxins? It is not a flesh and blood body, so it is naturally not afraid. Observing this little guy, letting it toss and turn, launching attacks for a while. The fire god puppet suddenly raised his arm, and with lightning speed, he waved his hand, spread his 5 fingers, and caught the six-winged miasma cloud bee in his hand. The six-winged miasma cloud bee was captured, and felt an unprecedented crisis, and immediately struggled. Because the body could not move, it could only release more miasma. For a while, a large amount of miasma surrounded the palm of the fire god puppet, as if it was holding a smoke bomb. These miasma are enough to kill any cultivator who is infected. In front of the fire god puppet, it still has no effect. The gold magic was performed, and as soon as the palm was spread, a metal cage the size of a goose egg appeared, trapping the six-winged miasma cloud bee tightly inside. After capturing a six-winged miasma cloud bee alive, those of the same clan in the hive also received the distressed signal sent by their companions at this time, and they all flapped their wings and flew out. Instantly, a series of buzzing sounds appeared, which seemed particularly abrupt in the silent cave, and a large number of poisonous bees flew out. Chen Qingyun took a rough glance and saw at least 100 six-winged miasma bees swarming out, all the size of copper coins. Some of them were scarlet in color, sturdy in size, and extremely powerful in attack. Among them, there was also a queen bee, with 3 pairs of wings that were wider, and the scarlet color on its body was more eye-catching, and it was so strong and deep that it turned into blood red. Judging from the fluctuations of its breath, this blood red queen bee was at the 3rd grade upper level, reaching the late stage of the Purple Mansion. If Bai Ling was released to deal with it, it would really not be the opponent of this queen bee. Even if Chen Qingyun took action himself, he had to beware of the miasma released by the other party and the poisonous stinger attack on the buttocks. This was a far superior existence to the 100-eyed monster, and it was a group which could easily kill the 100-eyed monster. Under the command of this queen bee, more than 100 six-winged miasma bees fought as a team and launched attacks in swarms. When the swarm of bees moved, it was like a flowing miasma cloud, instantly over the head of the fire god puppet. A large amount of poisonous miasma enveloped the fire god puppet, shrouding it in mist and rolling. But even so, these poisonous miasma had no effect on the fire god puppet. Use fire magic to drive it away, block a piece of heaven and earth, and then use gold magic to capture it. Under these 2 attacks, in less than an incense stick of time, This group of six-winged miasma cloud bees were all captured, without missing a single one, and all were collected by Chen Qingyun into the spirit beast bag. During the whole process, there was no need to use rapeseed nectar, spirit insects, etc. as bait. With the restraint of the five elements puppet, this capture was easily completed. Chen Qingyun paid close attention to the beehive on the Yingsing tree. There were several young bees in the beehive, sleeping in a daze, not knowing what an enemy was, and unable to launch an attack. Young bees have great value for cultivation. They are very docile and even small in size, which makes them quite cute. As for honey, after searching around, there was not a single drop. Six-winged miasma bees also produce honey. Why is there none? Chen Qingyun was puzzled, but he did not look at it anymore and packed up the beehive and took it away. Next, with his guess in mind, he paid attention to the situation of the Yingsing tree again and found some fruit cores scattered around the bottom of the tree. Seeing this, Chen Qingyun suddenly realized something. Chapter 531, Fire Spirit Realm, Lava Floating Island. Under the Yingsing tree, most of the fruit cores have rotted, and only a few have maintained their overall appearance. Judging from the traces of gnawing on the fruit core, it came from the six-winged miasma cloud bee. Obviously, it has been blocked in this cave for at least 60 years and cannot fly out to find food. This makes this group of six-winged miasma cloud bees like being imprisoned, lacking a large number of food sources. In order to reproduce, they can only consume the honey stored in the hive for a long time, and have to take these Yingsing fruits again, so as to save their lives and barely maintain their race. There is one thing that Chen Qingyun doesn't know. That is, when Zhuxiantu discovered this group of six-winged miasma cloud bees, he realized that he had no ability to capture them. But he didn't want to miss it. So before setting up the ban and blocking this cave, he collected a lot of flowers and plants on his own, and planted the first-level spiritual fruits in the cave as a short-term food source for the bee colony. The cave lacks sunlight, and many plants cannot grow normally. Zhuxiantu also arranged a few sunstones to imitate the sunlight growth environment with some cultivation spirit liquid. In this way, in the following 50 years, this group of spirit bees provided some food sources. Until the last 5 or 6 years. The energy of the sunstone was exhausted. The cultivation spirit liquid was exhausted, and many flowers and plants died, and then they began to rot and wither, and merged into the land. Chen Qingyun found 26 sunstones around, and the stones were dull and black. There are sunstones. It seems that a simple sunlight environment was arranged here before. I think some flowers and plants were planted to meet the reproduction and survival of these six-winged miasma bees. The sunstone is a first-level medium-quality ore that can imitate sunlight, replenish light energy for plants, and meet the conditions for photosynthesis. The disappearance of honey and Yingsing fruit was confirmed, and as expected, the mystery that had troubled my heart was solved. Next, Chen Qingyun paid attention to this Yingsing tree and decided to take it away together. The three puppets acted simultaneously, digging 3 feet into the ground, and dug out a large area of land in the cave, along with the roots of the entire Yingsing tree, and placed them in a spirit beast bag. After the puppets left the cave, Chen Qingyun left the canyon contentedly and continued his treasure hunt. On the tiger skin map, Chen Qingyun also went to investigate the last black sword mark. This is a fire pattern Ganoderma lucidum growing on a steep cliff. This is a third-level medium-grade spiritual medicine that can be used to heal injuries. The effect is equivalent to that of a third-level healing pill. It usually takes 50 years to mature. This fire pattern Ganoderma lucidum has been in use for more than 70 years, and its medicinal effect has reached its peak. Unlike the red sword, there is indeed no danger of monsters or creatures at this black sword mark. Using the black tortoise puppet to escape into the rock wall and perform the earth escape technique, it is easy to pick it. Chen Qingyun put the fire pattern Ganoderma lucidum into a jade box and kept it properly. Until now, it took a total of 1 day and 1 night to finally harvest the 3 opportunities on the tiger skin map. Continuing the journey, after a day of continuous travel, the scenery in the distance changed from the appearance of a forest field to a desert scene. According to the record on the map of the Immortal Palace, after passing through the outer area, The next place is the Five Elements Spiritual Realm. The so-called Five Elements Spiritual Realm refers to the 5 landforms of the 5 elements of gold, wood, water, fire and earth. These 5 landforms are of the same size and border each other, forming a huge circular area that isolates the outer area of the Immortal Palace and the foggy area. The 5 elements spiritual realm is an area that must be crossed. As long as you move in a straight line, it will naturally save the most time. The 5 elements areas have their own characteristics and are not easy to cross. Seeing the desert, Chen Qingyun guessed that the front is the fire spiritual realm. The surrounding temperature began to become hot and dry, and it was a bit hot. The farthest place that could be seen began to have patches of fiery red. It was a red substance composed of fire attribute power, like a fiery red starry sky, which was far away and had no boundaries. Chen Qingyun looked around and saw from a distance on the right that 2 monks were heading towards this fire realm. One of them was the Taoist Hongrai, and the other was a monk from Yaoang Mountain. The process of training in the Immortal Palace was to fight each other while moving towards the core area of the Immortal Palace. Chen Qingyun quickened his pace and continued to move forward. After about an incense stick of time, he officially stepped into this fiery red area and set foot in the fire realm. As far as the eye could see, there was a fiery red color everywhere, and countless viscous, liquid-like fire attribute auras flowed around. Further away, a large area of magma appeared, forming an endless sea of fire. In this sea of fire, there were countless magmas gathering, and bubbles rolled out from time to time, containing terrifying high temperatures. The sea of fire composed of magma was full of strong fire ores in the air, and it was all fiery red at a glance. Coming here, Chen Qingyun could not feel any life around him. Yes, there was only endless fire elements filling the surroundings, and the magma sea of fire in the distance was rolling and gurgling. Above the magma sea of fire, there were 3 black floating islands, of different sizes, with cracks of flames all over them, spreading like spider webs. Chen Qingyun strode forward and looked at the nearest black floating island, and found that the floating island was made of lava. The magical thing is that, supported by some kind of force, they floated in the air one by one. Strange, there are forbidden laws in the Immortal Mansion, but these lava floating islands are not restricted by the laws and can float in the air easily. What's going on? Chen Qingyun summoned the Aurora Blade and slashed at one of the lava floating islands, wanting to split it open to see what was inside. The lava floating island was fragile and was cut in half, scattering large pieces of sparks, floating to both sides like cut foam. Chen Qingyun looked closely and saw that there was nothing abnormal in the lava floating island. It was indeed made of lava and had pieces of stone. It was just because of the existence of some kind of power that they were not affected by the forbidden laws and could float in the air, and the surface of the island was not hot enough for cultivators to step on. Obviously, if you want to cross this fire spirit realm, you can board these lava floating islands. This attack destroyed the lava floating island, which soon broke and disintegrated by itself, sinking into the lava sea, bubbling. There are now 2 lava floating islands left, of equal size. Chen Qingyun put away the 5 elements puppet, randomly selected one, and climbed on it, finding that it was not hot. Chen Qingyun had not received any information about how to cross this lava sea, and even Liu Zilin was not aware of it. These lava floating islands had not actually appeared in the last session of the Immortal Palace opening. This was the first time they appeared. Chapter 532 Crossing the Rules, Golden Core Descendants. The last time the Immortal Mansion was opened, the way to cross the sea of magma and fire was to have huge bubbles that could withstand high temperatures appear on the sea of magma and fire. Those bubbles are somewhat similar to restrictions. They can be entered and exited many times without appearing too fragile. Monks can enter those magical bubbles and use them as carrying tools to move forward and quickly cross over. Now, landing on the lava floating island, Chen Qingyun found that there was no reaction in a short period of time. On the contrary, in the distance, there is a lava floating island floating slowly. When it reached the edge more than 10 meters away, it slowly hovered down, exuding a wave of attraction, seeming to be calling the monks to climb up quickly. The floating island under my feet did not move, but there was a floating island floating over on the opposite side. Does this situation mean that the floating island will not leave before the time is up? Or are there any password instructions? Chen Qingyun was a little confused. He tried it and found that he could not activate these floating islands. When he was confused, Chen Qingyun soon felt that when he came into contact with the floating island under his feet, a mysterious power of rules began to reveal information on the floating island. This information was not much, and it naturally integrated into Chen Qingyun's mind, as if he saw this information with his eyes. The rules information states that if you want to quickly cross the sea of magma and fire, you can first choose to travel on a lava floating island. Rule information is that simple and nothing else. It turns out that's the case. My guess was correct. After obtaining the rule information, Chen Qingyun understood clearly. As for how the lava floating islands move, it seems that they really need to wait until a specific time before they start on their own. Then the next step is to wait. By the way, we can see how the monks who come later will choose to cross the sea of magma and fire. What Chen Qingyun doesn't know is that according to the rules of the Immortal Mansion, these lava floating islands at the starting point will move once when 4 of them are gathered here. However, floating back from the end of the sea of magma and fire does not follow this rule. Once you arrive there, you will not stay for a long time and will immediately float back to the starting point. With such a rule set, in fact, as long as Chen Qingyun and the others wait patiently and gather 4 lava floating islands together, they will have a chance to cross. While waiting, only a moment passed. Not far away, 2 figures came quickly. They were the Taoist Hong Sun and the monk from Yaoang Mountain. Fellow Taoist Chen. Seeing that Chen Qingyun had arrived here first, Hongrai Taoist took the initiative to step forward and say hello. His behavior seemed enthusiastic, but in fact he was secretly paying attention. They have all come here from the outskirts of the Immortal Mansion. If they say that they have not picked some spiritual herbs and elixirs and obtained some opportunities, no one will believe it. But even so, Taoist Hongrai didn't want to go against Chen Qingyun. Facing Master Hongrei's greeting, Chen Qingyun just glanced sideways and did not respond. The Yaoang Mountain monk, named Jian, came here with Taoist Hongrai, with deep vigilance in his heart. Now, seeing Chen Qingyun again, he immediately distanced himself from the 2 of them. Taoist Hongrai and Jian were not fools either. They just took a glance at the scene in front of them and saw that Chen Qingyun was already 1 step ahead and landed on a lava floating island. In this situation, I can't see what this means. Taoist Hongrai waited again and again and decided that he still wanted to seek cooperation, so he looked at Chen Qingyun and Jian in turn. The dangers in this sea of fire are unpredictable. It would be inappropriate to act alone. It just so happens that the 3 of us are gathered here at this moment. How about joining forces and working together sincerely? Taoist Hongrai sent out an invitation to test the thoughts of Chen Qingyun and the others. If we can work together to survive this sea of magma and fire, it will naturally save the most time and effort. Even if they encounter any monsters, creatures, or attacks from flaming lava on the way, at least 3 people can fight together, which is definitely better than 1 person fighting alone. However, this cooperation may not be possible. No need. Facing the invitation from Taoist Hongrai, Chen Qingyun refused directly. Jian followed closely and shook his head in response. I don't need it. Seeing that the result was the same as he had guessed, it was really impossible to cooperate if he wanted to, so Taoist Hongrai smiled to himself. Haha, since you 2 have great powers, let's each rely on our abilities. He said that everyone should rely on their abilities, but Taoist Hongrai did not dare to compete with Chen Qingyun. Instead, he chose to be 1 step ahead. Under the influence of the attraction of the lava floating island, he jumped up and took the lead in landing on a lava floating island. When Jian saw this, he was not to be outdone and had no choice to coexist with Chen Qingyun or Hongrai Taoist. Instead, he was minding his own business and landed on the 3rd lava floating island. At this time, the 3 lava floating islands were divided. The 3 of them were on guard and continued to wait. They all guessed that they would not set off for the time being before the time was up. About half a day passed, and a figure came quickly from a distance. and monks began to arrive one after another. At this moment, 7 monks gathered here. Of the 3 newcomers, 2 were Star Sect monks. They were twin brothers who trusted each other. The other 2 include a female monk named Zhang Yingxing, who comes from Tankan Island. When he saw Chen Qingyun, Zhang Yingxing recognized him at a glance. While waiting for the opening of the escape world Immortal Mansion, this person secretly followed Chen Qingyun with fear in his heart. Now that they met here, Zhang Yingxing subconsciously avoided a distance and did not compete with Chen Qingyun. The last one was a Hunyuan Island cultivator named Wanjiantu, who was the offspring of a giant cultivator from Hunyuan Island. He had been living a life of luxury since childhood and was used to being arrogant and domineering. Wanjiantu was dressed very flamboyantly, wearing a luxurious white and gold robe, and even his shoes, socks, headdress, and belt were all the same color. Wanjiantu had been spoiled since childhood, and was arrogant. It was an understatement to say that he looked down on others. Seeing that the 3 lava-floating islands all had owners, he frowned and scanned Chen Qingyun, Hongrai Taoist, and Jian with an aggressive questioning look. This look seemed to be scolding the blind things, and they didn't get off. Wang Xian, Hongrai Taoist muttered and kept a close eye on him. Compared with being afraid of Chen Qingyun, he was more afraid of the giant and cultivator behind Wang Xian, and he also didn't want to compete with him and have a conflict. Jian was secretly nervous, fearing that he would be targeted by Wang Xian. This second-generation rich man was not easy to provoke, and he must have many treasures in his hands. No one dared to underestimate it. A giant and cultivator would pass down some methods to his descendants, and there must be talismans. The appearance of the lava-floating island and the actions of Chen Qingyun and the other 2 made Wang Xian and Zhang Yingxing see the situation at a glance and know what to do next. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 533 Why mess with him when there are so many other people to mess with? 3 lava-floating islands were suspended in the air, each emitting an attraction that attracted visitors to step on. Only 3. Wang Xian looked cold and arrogant. When he glanced at Jian, he saw that the other party was from Yaoang Mountain, so he instinctively did not target him. On the side of Taoist Hongrai, he had heard of this person's name. This old-fashioned purple mansion cultivator was not easy to deal with, so Wang Xian ignored him. Finally, he simply locked on a young Chen Qingyun, who was younger than himself, and said coldly, "You, get down." Just 4 simple words: provocation, contempt are clearly revealed, with a strong commanding tone, as if he was casually commanding a servant. Originally, Chen Qingyun, who was just waiting and did not make enemies casually, did not avoid his eyes after hearing Wang Xian scolding, and coldly confronted Wang Xian. This person is also at the peak of the Purple Mansion, but he is just a show-off with elixirs and spiritual objects. What a fool! Why did he have to provoke Chen Qingyun, the god of killing? He is really short-sighted. The Taoist Hongrai looked like he was watching a play, mocking Wang Xian in his heart that he would hit a wall this time and bury himself here. With the support of his father and the Golden Core stage, Wang Xian is used to being arrogant and conceited. He will make enemies everywhere and defend his fellow disciples, that's for sure. This time, if he didn't receive his father's instructions and teach him to keep a low profile in this retreat, that would be impossible. But Wang Xian's eyes were about to be raised to the sky, and he looked down on people with his nose. How could he change in a short time? He knew very little about Chen Qingyun. So now, compared with the few people present, he simply ignored him and didn't pay attention to him, thinking that he could not pose a threat. Just think about avoiding Nangang Yuang, Daoist Qian, Jizhen, Han Wu, and Zhu Ziheng. The rest of the people are just some clowns, not worth mentioning, and why should they be paid special attention to? For a moment, the atmosphere on the scene became tense, because Wang Xian's domineering behavior seemed full of gunpowder. "Are you deaf? I told you to get off." Seeing that Chen Qingyun was unmoved and looked at him with cold eyes, Wang Xian felt that his face was a shamed and lost face. You are really looking for death. This time, he didn't say much, and directly sacrificed a flying sword and slashed at Chen Qingyun. Stupid, why do you provoke him when you can provoke anyone else? At the moment when the flying sword was slashed, Zhang Yingxing also showed a look of watching the show, secretly cursing Wang Xian for being stupid, and he was probably going to die without a burial place. Clang. With a golden light rising from Chen Qingyun's body and a metallic explosion, Wang Xian's flying sword was knocked away and turned into scrap iron and flew away. Before Wang Xian could exclaim and recall the flying sword, a golden flying sword, with its remaining power, slashed directly at Wang Xian with a murderous aura. After all, he was a descendant of the Jiandan, and Wang Xian had many treasures on him, including 3 protective magic weapons. What? You? Facing the sudden sword, Wang Xian did not expect it at all, and he screamed in fear. At the critical moment, his platinum robe automatically unfolded a defense, condensing a layer of solid defensive shield armor, which blocked the golden flying sword without any danger. Swish. The golden flying sword rose more than 10 meters like a scallion pulled out of a dry land, pulling away from Wang Xian, emitting a brilliant golden light in the air, which was particularly dazzling. Not far away, the Pang brothers of Xingzong saw the golden flying sword, and their pupils shrank. They subconsciously whispered, "Heavenly Thunder Sword." Han Rai, Taoist and Zhang Yingxing witnessed Chen Qingyun's attack for the first time. They were just about to use Wang Xian as a whetstone to see Chen Qingyun's strength. At this time, Wang Xian showed anger, recalled the flying sword in a panic, and scolded Chen Qingyun. "Asshole, do you know who I am? You dare to attack me? You are really bold." Chen Qingyun's eyes were cold, and he urged the Heavenly Thunder Sword to burst out with power again, and said word by word, "You can shut up." Before the voice fell, the Heavenly Thunder Sword fell from the sky, rolled up the sky-high sword energy, and with the majestic sword power, it slashed at Wang Xian with a sword. Bang! This sword directly cut his platinum robe on the spot, and Wang Xian screamed in shock, and finally realized that he had provoked a tough guy. "I am the descendant of the Golden Core, you can't kill me." He had the intention of retreating in his heart, but his character was still very arrogant. Even if he wanted to beg for mercy, he didn't look like he was begging for mercy. Having long expected that Wang Xian had defensive means, Chen Qingyun had no intention of stopping. He controlled the Thunder Sword to slash again and responded coldly. Noisy. It was just in the blink of an eye. The golden light flew in the void, and 2 consecutive swords cut Wang Xian himself and the defensive magic weapon on his body in half. The flesh was wiped out. Wang Xian was horrified, and his soul fled in panic, fleeing in the opposite direction of the magma sea of fire. At this moment, facing Chen Qingyun again, he was no longer as high-handed as before, and there was only fear. He didn't even have time to use his magic weapon before he was suppressed by force, and the gap in strength was huge. Chen Qingyun was decisive in killing. Since he had already made his move, he would not let his opponent have any chance to survive. He urged the Heavenly Thunder Demon Sword to strike again. The golden flying sword cut through the sky and killed Wang Xian's soul in one fell swoop. It split his soul with one sword, and then the remaining soul was dispersed by the sword energy. In less than 3 breaths, this arrogant second-generation ancestor of Wulan Island was killed by Chen Qingyun's sword. What Jiandan descendants, sect elites, dare to provoke, then kill them with a sword? This is so domineering. Even the Jiandan descendants said to kill without mercy, which made Zhang Yingxing open his mouth in shock. Those who don't know their own strength will seek death. The Taoist Han Rai sneered in his heart and had no sympathy for Wang Xian's death. However, this time he saw Chen Qingyun's strength. With such means, he was equal to Jizian and Taoist Qian. This is indeed a top purple mansion. Amazing. The Pang brothers of Xingzong looked at Chen Qingyun with admiration, watching Chen Qingyun put away the Tanlai Jiangmo sword in Wang Xian's storage bag. Then, He threw the man's body directly into the sea of magma and fire. The atmosphere fell into silence for a short time. No one dared to speak easily at this time, for fear of angering Chen Qingyun with a disagreement and suffering the same fate as Wanjiantu. In the distance, another lava-floating island floated over, attracting the attention of everyone present. Zhang Yingxing couldn't help it, and just as he was about to step forward, he felt two eyes falling on him like a knife. He looked sideways. Who else could it be but the Pang brothers? My two brothers want this island, fellow Taoist. You should wait for the next one. Brother, Pang Jing said in a deep voice. Chapter 534, Battle of the Floating Island. Diane gives in. Pang Jing is tall and powerful, with a tall and powerful figure. He looks like a rugged man, with a majestic appearance that is intimidating. When he spoke this time, the domineering tone in his tone was undisguised, and he was not polite at all. Pang Jing and Pang Shi are in the later stages of Zaifu. Because of their tacit understanding, they can use vertical and horizontal attacks to greatly increase their combat effectiveness. The peak cultivator of Z Mansion might not be his opponent when facing these two brothers. The two of them were determined to win this lava-floating island and were ready to fight at all costs. Pang Shi looks thin and approachable, which is in sharp contrast to Pang Jing. Pang Shi's movements were unambiguous at all. The 12 flaming swords around him were powerful and surging with mana. They were ready to attack at any time. The two brothers dare to think and act decisively. Once Zhang Yingxing does not know what is right and wants to fight for it, he will definitely destroy the flower with his hands and show no mercy. Because of the appearance of the Pang brothers, the atmosphere was once again tense and there was a tendency for a fight. Chen Qingyun, Taoist Hongrai, and even Yan remained silent, staring at the Pang brothers and Zhang Yingxing, acting as spectators. Until the lava-floating island approached, Pang Jing felt a little impatient and wanted to go directly to the island. At this time, Zhang Yingxing struggled again and finally made a move. She took a few steps back without saying a word. It was obvious that she had made a concession. Her face was full of contemplation. She didn't know what she was thinking, and she secretly endured it. Seeing Zhang Yingxing give in, the Pang brothers felt happy. Accepted. Pang Jing cupped his hands politely and grinned. When the lava-floating island arrived at the shore of the magma sea of fire, it slowly hovered, no more than 1 meter above the ground. Upon seeing this, the Pang brothers immediately jumped up and occupied the floating island. When 4 lava-floating islands are put together, they will not move left and right depending on whether there are monks on them. The 4 floating islands began to shine, each emitting a hazy bright yellow brilliance, conveying the message that they were ready to start after a stick of incense. Seeing this, Zhang Yingxing was impatient and immediately took a step forward, setting his sights on the other 2 lava-floating islands. Of these 2 islands, Hongrai Taoist occupies one and Yan occupies the other. Not sure if there would be another lava-floating island, Zhang Yingxing thought for a moment and took the lead in eliminating Chen Qingyun and skipping this biggest threat. She cast her eyes on Taoist Hongrai, smiled, and said, "Fellow Taoist Hongrai, I have long admired your great name. I would like to ask, how about we work together, ride on the same island, and spend this sea of fire together? That way we can take care of each other." Taoist Hongrai looked indifferent, looked down at Zhang Yingxing condescendingly, and declined the invitation politely. "Friend Zhang Dao, don't be too hasty. After a while, more floating islands will appear, then you can choose another one." In his words, he directly rejected Zhang Yingxing's request and had no intention of living together on a floating island. As the owner of Tankan Island, Zhang Yingxing is well known in the Outer Star Sea, and he also occupies a place in the circle of the Zaifu monks in the Inner Star Sea. There are countless monks who know her, and Taoist Hongrai knows her best. He knows that this woman looks kind and easy to talk to, but in fact she has a snake heart and vicious methods. Previously, Taoist Hongrai had tentatively cooperated with Chen Qingyun and Zhao Yan. He at least knew the origin of these two people's methods, so he asked such a question. When the two of them refuse, they can step down and occupy a lava-floating island by themselves. Now, working with Zhang Yingxing? What a joke, sharing a floating island with a monk who has no close friendship, It's hard to say whether he is an enemy or a friend. When the time comes, if this woman cheats and drives him off the island and knocks him into the sea of lava and fire, she will undoubtedly get burned herself. At this juncture, everyone would prefer to occupy a lava-floating island alone to move forward, and cannot trust others. The two-star sect monks came from the same sect and were brothers. They were connected by blood and could trust each other. Rejected on the spot by Taoist Hongrai, Zhang Yingxing smiled helplessly, but there was a flash of killing intent in his eyes. Taoist Hongrai saw the wind and said with a smile, "Fellow Taoist Zhang, you might as well ask the other two fellow Taoists, maybe they will agree." One sentence immediately diverted Zhang Yingxing's attention. Zhang Yingxing knew Taoist Hongrai's plan. He just wanted to use her hands to compete with Yan and others. This would not show that he was stingy, and they might not be willing either. Everyone's attitude is the same. Due to the situation, there was no need to delay much. At this time, Zhang Yingxing stopped arguing with Taoist Hongrai and shifted his gaze to the two Xingzong brothers. "What? You want to learn about the skills of my two brothers?" The people present were all human beings, and it was impossible to see Taoist Hongrai's little thoughts. The leader, Brother Pang Jing, took a step forward and looked at Zhang Yingxing with an indifferent expression. Judging from this posture, there is no intention of cooperation. "If you want to do it, you can come and try it." Pang Jing's tough attitude was actually intimidating. If he comes here out of ignorance, then don't blame the two brothers for being rude. Zhang Yingxing's face darkened, and he still hesitated to attack the Pang brothers. She could only shift her gaze and look at Chen Qingyun. Chen Qingyun looked unsatisfied, and exchanged glances with Zhang Yingxing, causing Zhang Yingxing to look away directly. She didn't want to get too close to Chen Qingyun, lest she really fight and be powerless. She said nothing and quickly looked away, so she could only point the finger at Yan. Yan was very smart, realizing that among those present, his cultivation was the weakest, only in the late purple mansion stage. Whether facing Chen Qingyun, Taoist Hongrai, the Pang brothers, or Zhang Yingxing, he had no chance of winning. "Oh, no, this guy seems to want to fight me." Being stared at by Zhang Yingxing at this time, Yan's expression changed, and he could only grit his teeth secretly and see the current situation clearly. "Well, I can only endure it first, and I can't catch the wolf without sacrificing the child." In order not to lose the qualification to cross the river, Yan reluctantly took the initiative to invite Zhang Yingxing. "I am in need of a Taoist companion. If Taoist Zhang doesn't mind, would you please come with me?" Since he couldn't beat Zhang Yingxing, he would rather be driven off the floating island. God knows how long he would have to wait and how much competition he would have to face before he could get another floating island. Yan could only give up and endure to go with Zhang Yingxing. Originally, he wanted to seize this floating island. Seeing Yan's initiative to invite him, and his words were a bit flattering, Zhang Yingxing nodded. "Okay, Taoist Zhang knows how to cherish women, so I'd be disrespectful to refuse." She obviously said this to Taoist Hongrai, but Taoist Hongrai was a straight man. He snorted and ignored her, turning his head to the side. Chapter 535 Flame Fantasy Beast, True Spirit Power. Zhang Yingxing did not delay and immediately boarded the floating island, keeping a distance from Yan, and the two stood at the two ends of the floating island. The four lava floating islands were divided. After waiting for an incense stick of time, the lava floating island began to move slowly, maintaining the same speed, and floated towards the depths of the fire spirit realm. If you can't fly through the air, this is the most feasible and convenient way to cross this magma sea of fire. Otherwise, you can take a detour and go to the other four-element spiritual realms. In fact, they also have their own difficulties, which may not be easier than crossing the fire spirit realm. Fighting everywhere is indispensable. Officially entered the magma sea of fire area. Looking down, the magma in the sea of fire is like a vast ocean, endless, spitting bubbles, gurgling. The hot waves, the heat rising, the temperature in the air has risen to at least 100 degrees, extremely hot. The few people were not far apart, only 4 or 5 meters, and they were alert to each other, paying attention to the scene in the sea of fire below. and guarding against the dangers that might appear at any time, even the people around them. After walking for about half an hour, among the crowd, except for Chen Qingyun who had the ice rhino pendant to ward off fire, the Red Sun Taoist and his companions could no longer rely on their bodies to resist the high temperature. They began to cast spells to cool down, cast ice charms, water wave charms, etc., and condensed a layer of heat insulation protection outside the body to block the invasion of high temperature. Moving on the magma sea of fire for a long time, even if there was a floating island of lava under your feet, it was still like being roasted on the flames, similar to steaming buns. If it were a cultivator in the foundation building period, he would have been roasted long ago. Chen Qingyun easily blocked the high temperature with the effect of the ice rhino pendant. The whole person was in high spirits and was the most relaxed and comfortable among the group. Seeing Chen Qingyun like this, the Red Sun Taoist and his companions were more cautious and did not dare to go against Chen Qingyun. Chen Qingyun was already considered a strong man of the same level as Jizhen, Han Wu, and Taoist Qian, and he must have some treasures on him. As for what dangers are hidden in the magma sea of fire, this is also the most concerned issue for everyone. They never dare to take it lightly, and guess that this crossing will not be so simple. None of the information they have mastered indicates what specific dangers will appear here, and they need to explore it by themselves. Every time the Immortal Mansion is opened, the test in the Five Elements spirit realm is different. It is impossible to get the news in advance, and only personal experience can know. After floating for more than 3,000 meters, there began to be unusual movements in the magma sea of fire, attracting everyone's attention. Is it coming? Chen Qingyun was attracted by this unusual movement. Looking intently, he saw a creature-like thing suddenly popping up in the boiling magma sea of fire and attacking the Pang brothers. This is a red creature composed of flame magma, shaped like a flying bird, about 2 meters tall. This creature is called the Flame Fantasy Beast. It is condensed from the rules of fire in the magma sea of fire. It has no intelligence and will attack all creatures passing by. Riding on the lava floating island, crossing this magma sea of fire, you will inevitably experience the attacks of these flame fantasy beasts on the way. The only difference is that whoever is lucky will encounter fewer flame fantasy beasts and will not be surrounded. What kind of monster is this? Zhang Yingxing muttered. Yan's eyes were bright. Seeing this flame fantasy beast, he was relieved. Since there is such a creature to deal with, at least everyone can become grasshoppers on the rope, reducing the time of internal fighting, and instead spend time and energy to deal with external enemies. In this way, Zhang Yingxing will not attack himself in the short term. Seeing the flame fantasy beast, Taoist Hanrai was also puzzled. He stared at it without moving his eyes, just in time to see the real combat power of the Pang brothers. The strength of this flame phantom beast in the early stage of the Purple Mansion was only mechanical attack and dodge. Facing the Pang brothers in the late stage of the Purple Mansion, it was no match at all. Come on, I want to see what you can do. The eldest brother Pang Jing shouted angrily, and the will to fight emerged in his heart. He threw his hand and shot out a treasure wheel. This treasure wheel is called the Seven Treasures Heavenly Wheel. It has reached the level of the best magic weapon. It is known for its high attack and speed, and is no less than the top flying sword. In just one encounter, the Seven Treasures Heavenly Wheel cut the Flame Phantom Beast in half. After the Flame Phantom Beast was broken into 2 halves, it lost its mobility. A ray of true spirit power flew out of its body and flew towards Pang Jing. Since it was the first time to contact this flame phantom beast, Pang Jing subconsciously thought that this kind of flame true spirit was also a means of attack, and quickly deployed the skill shield to resist. However, the next moment, the phantom beast's true spirit went straight through the skill shield and merged into Pang Jing's lower danshan. Pang Jing felt something was wrong. His face changed, and he quickly paid attention to the dynamics of the flame spirit in his danshan, shocked that the other party could ignore the defense and enter the danshan. Pang Jing looked tall and mighty, but he was nervous at this moment, just like a child facing a wild beast. He pretended to be calm and felt it carefully, and found that the flame spirit did not show any killing power, but instead showed a kind and peaceful power. Seeing this, Pang Jing quickly realized something, and a rule information also entered his mind at this time, and he was secretly happy. At the same time, on Chen Qingyun's side, two flame phantom beasts appeared in the magma sea of fire, and launched an attack with a trend of one left and one right. The strength of these two flame phantom beasts is also in the early stage of the Purple Mansion. Chen Qingyun had many magical instruments on him. He chose the most effective and labor-saving one, and used Xuan Yang True Water to control them easily, killing them with two moves. Like Pang Jing, two flame true spirits flew out and quickly merged into Chen Qingyun's lower danshan, making Chen Qingyun unable to stop. What is this? Feeling the two flame true spirits in the danshan, they did not show any dangerous behavior, but showed affinity. Chen Qingyun quickly understood. At this time, like Pang Jing, a piece of information automatically flooded into his mind. The rules of this fire spirit domain, according to the settings, began to actively inform Chen Qingyun of the uses of these flame true spirits. Pang Jing, who went there first, was the same. From the rules, he knew the uses of these flame true spirits. Flame true spirit. The so-called flame true spirit is not unfamiliar to the refiners and alchemists. This is the essence of the flame, which can be used to refine fire-attributed pills or magical instruments. According to the strength of these two flame spirits, Chen Qingyun deduced that they could be used to refine the life magic weapon. If there is a disadvantage, it is that the number is too small. If there are more than 100 strands and they can be gathered into one, it would be even better. Seeing the Pang brothers and Chen Qingyun being attacked by the flame beasts one after another, Zhong Yingxing, Diane, and Han Taoist were all watching the show. Chapter 536. Strike first. The puppet enters the sea of fire. Han Taoist, Zhong Yingxing, and Diane not only did not help, but they were gloating, looking like they were watching a tiger fight from a mountain. In their opinion, it would be a good thing to consume the strength of Chen Qingyun and the Pang brothers and block their progress. Why would they be willing to help? Chen Qingyun didn't care about the little thoughts of Han Taoist and his friends. At this moment, looking at the scene of the sea of fire in front of him, he couldn't help but think of the scenes he experienced in Lin Kanglong's cave. At that time, he and Ling Xi, Sun Tai, Nangong Ming, Zhuo Xiangwan and Taoist Huiyu had to cross a sea of fire. At that time, they were also attacked by flame creatures in the sea of fire. Those flame creatures were endless and could not be killed. Later, they found a pattern and quickly crossed over. Nangong Yuang and his friends just relied on brute force to break through, which was also a solution. Looking at the sea of fire now, it is obviously more dangerous. Even basic flight is impossible. We can only ride the lava floating island to drift over. Similar environment, but different danger. This time, how many people in this group can successfully reach the other side? Chen Qingyun murmured to himself. After tasting the sweetness, he wished that there would be more flame beasts and more flame spirits. After completing the training in the Immortal Mansion this time, he can form a pill in one fell swoop and try to refine his own life magic weapon. The appearance of these flame spirits is really just in time. This is the opportunity to send, so we must seize it. These flame spirits are of great use to me. I must find a way to get more. If I miss it, I don't know when I can meet them again in the future. Chen Qingyun decided to take the initiative and secretly sacrificed the fire god puppet, keeping it in a mini size, unfolding the fire escape technique, and quickly fell into the magma sea of fire. The 5 elements puppet can be integrated into the 5 elements material, as long as it is not too outrageous 5 elements power. For example, if it is not the burning sky flame or the invasion of the top spiritual fire, it will not be a problem and can be freely contacted. The fire god puppet fell into the magma sea of fire. Relying on the shared vision, Chen Qingyun saw the surrounding scene clearly. It was an endless magma, with a fiery red everywhere. The vision was blocked. It was somewhat difficult to find the flame fantasy beast from here. However, the advantage is that there are more 5 elements puppet, which is better than waiting on the floating island and being attacked by the flame fantasy beast. After trying the effect of the 5 elements puppet, Chen Qingyun was able to move safely in the magma sea of fire. He left 3 as a backup and released all the rest. The puppets fell into the magma sea of fire one by one in mini size. What is he doing? No. Yan glanced at Chen Qingyun and happened to see Chen Qingyun releasing the puppets. When he was confused, he did not see clearly. But even if he was confused now, he didn't dare to pay too much attention. More thoughts were still placed on Zhang Yingxing, keeping an eye on the biggest threat, so as not to be stabbed in the back. After the puppet was released, it was active in the magma sea of fire. Chen Qingyun looked forward to the subsequent progress. In the following crossing process, more flame phantom beasts began to appear one after another. Chen Qingyun took advantage of the puppet and restrained the puppet's breath to intercept these flame phantom beasts. A few flame phantom beasts just emerged, and before they completely left the magma sea of fire, there were gold spells around. Using local materials, condensed by magma, and mixed with the sharpness and hardness of gold power. One after another, flaming flying swords, blades, fire wheels, etc. hit these flame phantom beasts. With the peak strength of the Purple Mansion, it is a piece of cake to fight against enemies in the early stage of the Purple Mansion who do not understand magic and cannot control magic tools. In less than 3 breaths, 6 flame phantom beasts were killed by puppets. Wisps of flame spirits rose up, interweaving and merging into Chen Qingyun's Danshan. This scene made Han Taoist, Zhang Yingxing, and Yan puzzled, wondering if Chen Qingyun was crazy or stupid. He actually took the initiative to attack the flame phantom beast. Did he think he had too much mana? But this thought was only fleeting, and then the 3 of them realized something, thinking that Chen Qingyun must have done something good. He might not be doing useless work here and wasting his energy. Is he also a puppeteer? Several flame phantom beasts were killed, and Pang Jing looked unhappy, noticing the figures of the Vulcan puppets when they took action. At least a puppet in the early stage of the Purple Mansion period. This person's puppetry attainments are so amazing. This experience is really a hidden dragon and crouching tiger. I must not provoke this person. Next. As they went deeper into the magma sea of fire, the number of flame phantom beasts exploded, and sometimes appeared in groups of 3 or 5. Reaching more than 20 heads. Chen Qingyun's power alone was not enough to catch them all. This caused everyone present to be attacked by the flame beast. Originally, Han Taoist and Zhang Yingxing, who were gloating, soon learned the rules after destroying the flame beast. They immediately changed their minds and couldn't help cursing in their hearts, and their faces became a little ugly. Stupid. So short-sighted. Why did they laugh at the Pang brothers and Chen Qingyun before? As a result, killing the flame beast can actually obtain the flame spirit. It would have been better if I had encountered such an opportunity earlier, so that I would not fall behind. You laugh at others for being attacked by fire beasts, but who would have thought that it was an opportunity to gain, and they would laugh at you for not having it. The entire lava sea of fire covers a huge area. According to the movement speed of the lava floating island, it took 3 months to cross to the end point. During these 3 months, everyone often encountered a group of fire beasts every few days, so there was enough time to recover. Chen Qingyun captured a total of 126 fire beasts. Among them, 2 were in the late Purple Mansion stage and 1 was in the peak Purple Mansion stage. Among the fire beasts, there are always a few that are stronger. The Red Sun Taoist and his men killed more than 20 beasts each. In terms of losses, there were no casualties. The only one who can be singled out is Yan. As the weakest among the group. Along the way, Yan was very nervous and was on guard all the time, worried that Zhang Yingxing would take action and knock him into the lava sea of fire. For this reason, when facing the attack of the flame phantom beast, she did not dare to concentrate too much, and needed to pay attention to Zhang Yingxing's every move. Zhang Yingxing was observant and thoughtful, so she could see that Yan was wary of her. She tried her best to preserve her strength along the way, and did not attack Yan, focusing all her attention on the flame phantom beast. Chapter 537, The battle begins again. The fairy palace is in the mist. During this crossing, the group did not fight each other, and no conflict broke out. They just confronted each other invisibly. Along the way, they saw 4 lava floating islands floating back. It seems that soon, The next group of monks will fight for the lava-floating islands and then cross the Sea of Magma. When they arrived at the end of the Sea of Fire, a particularly flat land with a wide view appeared in the distance. At the end of the land, there were bursts of white fog surging, covering the scenery farther away, making it difficult to see clearly. After the five elements spirit realm, there is the fog area. This is the most mysterious and largest area in the secluded Immortal Mansion. 1/3 of the area of the entire Immortal Mansion is shrouded in this mysterious and vast fog. According to the speed of the Purple Mansion monks, it takes at least 6 months to travel day and night to cross the entire fog area. Generally speaking, only Purple Mansion late monks can reach here. If those Purple Mansion mid-stage cultivators are lucky enough, they can step into the foggy area, and this trip is worth it. Chen Qingyun put away all the puppets, and the lava-floating island happened to be suspended, showing a great power, forcibly driving everyone away, and carrying them to the ground. Then, the 4 lava-floating islands began to turn back and float back to the starting point. Several people were new here, and they looked at each other and kept their distance. It was at this time that someone couldn't sit still and finally had the intention to kill. Zhang Yingxing saw the opportunity and took the lead in attacking Jian, urging his magic weapon, the Golden Thunder Sword, to launch a fierce offensive. This move was obviously intended to get rid of this junior and seize the flame true spirit to fill his pockets. You, finally can't help it. No. Yan seemed weak, but his mind was very deep. He had been on guard against Zhang Yingxing all the way, and when he came here, he even wanted to run away. Seeing that the situation was not right, Yan would not sit still and wait for death. He immediately threw out a talisman and faced the Golden Thunder Sword head-on. This was a 3rd grade top grade 8-sided armor talisman from Yaoang Mountain. After the talisman was unfolded, it turned into 8 rectangular shields, standing in front of Yan layer by layer. Zhang Yingxing belonged to the Golden Thunder faction of Tanking Island. She mainly practiced the Golden Thunder and Liangju and took the route of overbearing and killing. Because of this, her personality was also affected by some of the exercises, and she acted vigorously. Unlike the Tan faction of Tankin Island, which combined hardness and softness and handled things in a gentle manner. The Golden Thunder Sword was particularly powerful and had reached the top level of magic weapons. It contained the power of thunder and fire and was extremely explosive. This sword was like hitting glass. It penetrated 6 shields in a row and stopped at the position of the 7th shield. 8-sided armor talisman, you are willing to give it up? Recognizing the precious talisman of Yaoang Mountain, Zhang Yingxing knew that he could not break it with one move, so he had to urge the Golden Thunder Sword to fly back and use the Golden Thunder and Fiery Sun art to fight the enemy. When she was pinching her fingers to cast the big move of the Golden Thunder Sword formation, Yan didn't care about the pain and threw another talisman. This is a 3rd level top grade 9 Heavens Gangfeng talisman. Once it was cast, it released a fierce and violent 9 Heavens Gangfeng, forming a small storm that swept towards Zhang Yingxing and interrupted her release moves. After all, she was a Purple Mansion cultivator. Zhang Yingxing was well prepared, so it was impossible for her to capsize in the gutter and be killed by this talisman. She pinched her fingers and sacrificed a thick big bell in time, covering herself with a clang, resisting the attack of the 9 Heavens Gangfeng. At the same time, the Golden Thunder Sword turned into 3 flying swords with cold light slashed through the air and slashed directly at Yan's head. In this breath, Zhang Yingxing used 2 moves, 1 attack and 1 defense, showing his strong side. Yan had expected it, and when he saw the 3 flying swords slashing at him, he immediately activated the lightning magic talisman that he had prepared in advance. Not only that, with the speed of the light wind shoes, the whole person turned into a stream of light, steadily avoided the attack of the flying sword, and fled into the distance. Yan obviously had this idea in mind. Runs away if you can't beat him. He didn't expect anyone to help him. Seeing the 2 people fighting, one side had already fled, and Chen Qingyun and others were watching on the side, and they had no intention of taking action. Zhang Yingxing glanced at Chen Qingyun and others, and decided that he couldn't let Yan, the fat sheep, go. The light surged under her feet, and she used the golden thunder body skill. The golden lightning surged all over her body, exerting a speed increase, and chased Yan directly. Seeing this, the Pang brothers chose to follow and evacuate. Pang Jing likes to make friends, so he arched his hands to Chen Qingyun, leaving a good impression, and walked towards the direction of the fog. Fellow Taoist Chen, see you later. Taoist Hongrai did not dare to stay at this time. He also greeted Chen Qingyun and left quickly, not wanting to become the next Zhao Yan. It's really fearing that the world will not be in chaos, and there is no peace at all. Before leaving, Taoist Hongrai glanced at the back of Zhong Yingxing chasing. In a short period of time, everyone went their separate ways. Chen Qingyun ignored this. He had just arrived in the fog area and had more than 2 years of experience. There was plenty of time to fight. He released the puppet to continue exploring the way and lurking, heading towards the fog area. According to the information obtained from Liu Zilin before, the fog concentration in this fog area is not constant. Instead, there will be more or less fog at different times, and there are rules to follow. In other words, there will be a window period, and the fog in this stage is the thinnest. All the monks who participated in the process would choose to cross the fog area during the window period to reduce the difficulty as much as possible. This seemingly common simple fog actually contains dangers that are no less dangerous than the sea of magma and fire. As long as the monks enter the fog, their spiritual sense will not work, and their vision will be blocked by the fog. The farthest visible distance will not exceed 3 meters. While the vision is blocked, it is difficult to distinguish the direction and it is easy to get lost, and you must also beware of attacks from creatures in the fog. This kind of fog creature is called a void monster, and the lowest strength can reach the middle stage of the purple mansion. Moreover, these void monsters often appear in groups and launch sudden attacks on the monks around them, which is very tricky. If you are not careful, you may be buried here. In addition, there is another point that needs special attention, which depends on your luck. That is, beware of the 2 forbidden areas. The 2 forbidden areas in the secluded Immortal Palace, the Demon God Swamp and the Wind Valley, are both located in the foggy area. It is unknown where they are, because they move on their own and appear randomly in any place in the foggy area. If a cultivator accidentally enters one of the forbidden areas while crossing the foggy area, he can only leave it to fate and fight for his own hope of survival. In the past generations of experience, no cultivator who entered the forbidden area could walk out alive. Chapter 538, Mystery of the Forbidden Land, Xuanyuan Lightning Talisman. No one can walk out of the 2 forbidden areas alive. Whether this rumor was officially proposed by the 5 major sects or passed down by word of mouth by the cultivators is unknown. This is the answer Chen Qingyun got when he was collecting information about the secluded Immortal Palace. Whether this answer is true or false, or someone is exaggerating, Chen Qingyun is a little interested. Since it is a place for training, if it is a forbidden area, or the kind that you can't return once you go there, shouldn't the 5 major sects have found a way to seal it off long ago, so as not to let their own masters lose in the forbidden area? Chen Qingyun didn't think about it for the time being because he couldn't figure it out. So for now, Sun Tai, Zhong Yingxing, Liu Zilin and others are all confused about the specific information of the 2 forbidden areas of the Demon God Swamp and the Netherwind Valley, and what kind of terrifying existence is inside. They can only guess a little from the naming information left by Xingzun, which seems to be related to the demon god and the mysterious wind power. As for whether there are demon gods in the Demon God Swamp and whether there are storms in the Wind Valley, you have to find out for yourself. So far, the only thing that can be confirmed is that if there is a window period in this foggy area, that is, when the fog concentration reaches the minimum time point, it is the best time to enter. This window period usually lasts from 1 month to half a year. As long as you seize this opportunity, you will save a lot of time and effort. Chen Qingyun came here for the first time because he felt very unfamiliar. In order to supplement his cognition, he carefully explored the surrounding environment. He wandered around and found that there were more than a dozen cultivators within 10,000 meters around him, and the weakest ones were all in the middle stage of the Purple Mansion. For a cultivator in the middle stage of the Purple Mansion, Being able to cross the 5 elements spirit realm and set foot here means that he is still lucky. Chen Qingyun paid close attention and found that among these people, Liu Zilin and Chen Xianming had not been seen yet. I don't know if the two have not arrived here yet, or have passed through the fog and set foot in the circular cloud area. It is impossible to communicate by voice transmission, no matter whether it is a sound transmission note or a communication instrument. It is useless here. The monks can only rely on releasing smoke signals and fireworks, an ancient way to transmit basic information and reveal their own location. According to the previous discussion of Chen Qingyun and the other two, they will gather in the fog area at the latest, because this is the area with the highest risk factor. If you want to say when the participating monks will choose to join forces, the probability of this happening is the highest here. The monks who can arrive here have been selected through fighting, and they are probably all capable. In order to avoid causing trouble and getting too much blood stains, I'd better not offend them casually. Among the dozen people, Chen Qingyun saw 2 familiar faces. One was Bai Yining and the other was Sun Tai. Seeing these 2 people, Chen Qingyun just paid attention to them, and did not mean to greet them, and avoided them from a distance. Chen Qingyun. Bai Yining was sensitive and also noticed Chen Qingyun through the formation sensing at the first time. As a formation master, after arriving here, Bai Yining laid out the formation flag in advance and activated a 3rd level formation, the dust induction formation, which covered the area within a radius of 1,000 meters. The dust induction formation is a defensive formation that can collect the surrounding spiritual energy of heaven and earth while sensing all the movements around the formation. Even a small flying insect or a little dust movement can be clearly sensed. Bai Yining looks like a woman and does not pose much threat, but in fact, she acts more meticulously than Chen Qingyun and has extremely delicate thoughts. When she picks spiritual herbs, she will lay out the formation as a defense, and even when she rests, meditates, and travels, she will use the formation to bless her. Anyone who goes against her will first face the endless and various powerful formations. It is even more important to weigh it. Going against Bai Yining and offending this woman is equivalent to offending the red spirit ancestor behind her, and even the entire Xingzong. In Xingzong, it took several hundred years for such a 4th level formation master to appear. Such a top young genius has unlimited future prospects and has long been the apple of Xingzong's eye and is being cultivated. If you go against her, do you still want to mix in the star sea? Fortunately, Bai Yining is a person who only cares about cultivation and is only interested in formations and strength. She rarely takes the initiative to provoke others. She is not the kind of cultivator who likes to rob and bully others. Along the way, she only encountered 3 monsters and an ambush by an ignorant casual cultivator. In the end, the casual cultivator recognized Bai Yining through the formation method and fled in fear. Knowing that Chen Qingyun's strength is not bad, it is not good to fight with dragons and tigers and waste strength. Then think of it. This is the younger brother of junior brother Qingfeng. Bai Yining has no intention of competing at all. She guarded her own 1/3 acre of land, looked at Chen Qingyun from a distance, and temporarily recuperated alone. Wait until some time later, and then find Chen Qingyun to seek cooperation. It's not strange to see Bai Yining and Sun Tai here, it's completely expected. Counting the days, there is still plenty of time for training in the Immortal Palace. Chen Qingyun thought for a moment and decided to try to contact these mists to see if he should wait for the window period to come, and then choose to cross. What is the situation in the mist? I will contact it now, and it will not be a loss. Before preparing for action, Chen Qingyun took advantage of this time to deploy puppets and count Wanjiantu's storage bag. The spiritual stones, magic weapons, etc. are equivalent to about 70% of Zhuxiantu's. There is nothing eye-catching, but there are 2 talismans. These 2 talismans, named Xuanyu and Thunder Talisman, are offensive talismans, and their power has reached the top level of the Xifu period. Thunder and Lightning Talisman. Looking at the talisman in his hand, which contained violent and violent thunder attribute power, Chen Qingyun thought of Wanjiantu's origins. There are very few golden elixir cultivators in the entire Star Sea who can make this object, It seems that it was made by Ancestor Leisure. This time, I have offended a golden elixir cultivator. Ancestor Leisure had a son in his later years and held Wang Xian like a treasure in his palm. Once the cause of Wang Xian's death is investigated, he will definitely be traced to me. Soon, I will inevitably have a fight with Ancestor Leisure. It's true that the younger ones are beating the older ones. Even if I don't provoke others, there will always be people who think I'm a soft persimmon. Ancestor Leisure, formerly known as Wang Chonglai, is Wang Xian's father. His cultivation has reached the middle stage of the Golden Core. He has a rare Thunder Spirit root and focuses on practicing thunder techniques. Among all the Golden Elixir monks, although Wang Chonglai is a boring gourd, doesn't like to make friends, and has a bad temper, he is the most protective of his shortcomings. Refining two Xuanyu and Thunder Talismans in a row took a lot of energy from Wang Zhonglai, and he would not be able to recover in a year or two. This alone showed how much Wang Xian was valued, which made Chen Qingyun frown and couldn't help but ponder. Chapter 539, Thick Fog, Void Monsters. Wang Xian had two Xuanyu and Lightning Talismans in his hand, holding such top-notch talismans. Given the degree of Wang Zhonglai's favor, it is impossible to say that Wang Xian's death would not anger Wang Zhonglai. Poor Wang Xian, because he underestimated Chen Qingyun's strength, he never had the opportunity to use these two talismans until his death. In the end, the talismans fell into Chen Qingyun's hands. It doesn't matter if I offend him in the middle stage of the Golden Elixir, as long as I am still in this fairy palace. The old Ancestor Leisure alone can't cause any trouble, and he is even less likely to enter the fairy palace to hunt me down. As for waiting for the fairy palace training to end, I will form a golden elixir as soon as possible. I may not be afraid of him. At worst, if I can't beat him, I can still run away. Bawang and Jiuyu have already formed elixir, and they are not just for show. Chen Qingyun is not afraid that the old Ancestor Leisure may seek revenge in the future. As a cultivator of our generation, why should we be afraid of a fight? If we want to fight, we will fight. There is no need to look back and forth. The other gains were a third-level demon pill, a top-grade spirit stone, and a century-old second-level top-grade spirit medicine, Sanxia Lotus. Sanxia Lotus is of great benefit to foundation-building cultivators. After taking it, it can help break through bottlenecks and improve a small realm. When Chen Qingyun saw this Sanxia Lotus, he thought of his sister King Luan. According to Chen Qingluan's qualifications, at most in another year, she will be able to break through to the middle stage of foundation building. With the assistance of Sanxia Lotus, it will not be a problem to quickly reach the late stage of foundation building. With resources and her own top qualifications, Chen Qingluan's cultivation will improve very quickly. After an hour, he restored his mana to its peak state. Like some of the cultivators around him, Chen Qingyun walked straight to the foggy area and tried to make the first contact. Approaching the fog, layers of light white mist floated in the air, like clouds and mists surrounding the peaks, giving a sense of déjà vu of the blessed land of immortals and the faint air of immortals. But this is just an appearance, and it must not be underestimated. Here, not only is the spiritual consciousness ineffective, but it will also be completely isolated by the fog. Chen Qingyun did not retreat, and stepped into the fog with big strides, driving layers of fog, and his entire figure soon disappeared. Outside the fog, it was difficult to see a trace. In the fog, Chen Qingyun tried to use the magic weapon and sacrifice the Great Dream Ring, but found that the farthest control distance of the magic weapon could only be maintained within a range of 3 meters around. Once this distance is exceeded, the spiritual connection between oneself and the magic weapon will be disconnected, and the magic weapon will lose control and fall to the ground. The control range of 3 meters in radius is a great discount for this combat range. In normal times, the Great Dream Ring can be used at a distance of 1,000 meters. Such a short control distance. Chen Qingyun frowned. In the foggy area here, if the flying sword is used to fight, once it exceeds 3 meters, it cannot be summoned back, and you can only run over to pick it up yourself. Chen Qingyun felt a strong sense of crisis when a dignified purple mansion cultivator was suppressed to this extent. The control distance of the magic weapon was limited, and the combat effectiveness was greatly affected, and even the 5 elements puppet was also limited. As long as the distance exceeded 3 meters, it was impossible to sense what the puppets would see, and they could only be allowed to fight on their own. Secondly, it was the fear from the unknown. There were void monsters in the fog, and it was not clear whether they were affected by the fog and their combat effectiveness was reduced. But once a void monster launched a sneak attack, whether it was from a distance or in front of it, for any cultivator, it would definitely be caught off guard. Imagine, when the visibility was only 3 meters at the farthest, once you were attacked, how long would you have to react to take action to resist? If you were attacked from behind, you would have been killed before you turned around to see what it was. As Chen Qingyun moved forward cautiously, relying on the exploration of the puppet, he could slightly sense that the fog in the distance was thicker and the scene was completely unclear. It was at this time that a huge figure with a hideous outline suddenly flashed by. Before Chen Qingyun could see clearly, a scream suddenly sounded the next moment, and then the sound stopped abruptly, with only a plop, and the sound of the magic weapon losing control and falling. The atmosphere returned to dead silence at this moment. It seemed that there was no sign of life around, and there was only a thickened white fog that could not be dissolved. In fact, the danger hidden in the fog made it even more difficult for people to calm down, and their breathing became a little faster. It's a void monster. Encountering this strangeness, Chen Qingyun's expression moved, and he immediately sacrificed the purple spirit robe to cover his body and remained motionless, thinking about what happened. The atmosphere seemed extremely tense at this moment, so quiet that Chen Qingyun could feel his heartbeats. In such a dense fog, the slightest movement, even a simple breath, can cause the surrounding fog to move and change. This change is nothing to a cultivator, almost invisible. But Chen Qingyun can't guarantee that the void monster will not notice such a tiny change. Worried that the other party would catch signs of activity, Chen Qingyun did not move, and did not forget to perform the breath-holding technique, even temporarily stopping breathing. Until more than a dozen breaths passed. After killing a cultivator lost in the fog, the void monster let out a few soul-stirring roars, which were particularly clear in the dead silence. These roars startled 2 monks who were exploring in the fog hundreds of meters away. They immediately stopped and remained highly alert. Without noticing any unusual movement in the fog or the appearance of monks, the void monster quickly disappeared in the fog, and there was no trace or movement. After noticing the danger and leaving, Chen Qingyun, who had just arrived, did not want to go and see what the other party looked like. He did not touch the lost magic weapon and storage bag, so as not to get burned. It was much more dangerous than expected. If you just get lost easily when crossing the foggy area, it would not be a big problem. The biggest problem is that encountering the attack of the void monster in the fog is not a joke. You need to be highly alert at all times. Once you encounter a void monster, or even many of them, you will be in a mess and consume a lot of mana. If you only have such an experience for a short time, just grit your teeth and persist. But it takes at least 6 months to cross this foggy area. The premise is that you can't get lost during this period, and you can't be hindered by various battles, which is not easy. And you have to rest and recover your strength. It also requires extreme vigilance, and the spirit is in a state of long-term tension, which is unbearable for Purple Mansion cultivators. It will take at least 6 months to cross, and you have to beware of the void monsters. If you don't prepare a few more trump cards and a lot of elixirs, it will be really difficult to get through. After a few attempts, Chen Qingyun had a good idea of this place. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 540, Regaining Strength. The beast lies dormant. Thick fog can confuse your vision, making it easy to get lost and unable to distinguish the direction. You need to use a compass and other equipment to assist. Identifying the direction is not a big problem and can be easily solved. Everyone prepared compasses, direction finding tools, spells, etc. early. In addition, the line of sight is blocked, which is the most intuitive and the most difficult problem to solve. Other monks may have prepared treasures to assist in exploring the path, which is a good idea. Regarding this point, Chen Qingyun tried to sacrifice the tailing gourd and palm bottle. The tailing pot has the effect of restraining poisonous gas. Once used, the mist can also be inhaled. But these mists are constantly flowing, as if they are endless, and they cannot be absorbed at all. The palm bottle can restrain liquid attacks such as venom and true water. Even if it is used, it will not have any restraint effect on the fog, so it has little effect here. This fog is difficult to remove. Even if it is absorbed or consumed, it will automatically replenish the amount of fog that disappears. It's too whimsical. If the fog could be suppressed so easily, with such opportunistic methods, I'm afraid the method to crack it would have been spread long ago. Chen Qingyun put away his magic weapon and tried to expand his field of vision. Although his sight is blocked. But according to the puppet's ability, if the 3-meter-1 statue is used as a connection point, it can be connected in this way. After some layout, it is possible to achieve a viewing distance of 6 meters, 9 meters, and 12 meters based on 3 meters. In theory, this is correct. Just line up the puppets, detect a distance of 3 meters each, and combine them again and again, adding Chen Qingyun himself. Then the farthest place that can be seen is 36 meters. The premise for this is that the 12 puppets must appear together, arrange in a straight line, and share a field of vision in one direction. If the puppets are spread around and arrange in a 3-square grid, 6-square grid, etc., the field of view will be greatly reduced. This field of view is still too small. The flying sword wielded by the Zaifu monk can reach a distance of 100 meters in an instant. Void spirits are also fast. There is not much difference in their eyes between a distance of more than 30 meters and a distance of 3 meters. This method won't work either. Keeping the 12 puppets moving for a long time will consume too much of my mana. I will be unable to bear it within half a day. Chen Qingyun summarized that there are two main difficulties in crossing the foggy area. The first point is to deal with the void spirits. The strength of this void spirit is said to be between the late Zaifu and the peak of Zaifu. It is still quite difficult for ordinary Zaifu monks. Chen Qingyun estimated that the strength of the one he had met and glanced at earlier had reached the late Zaifu stage. According to the cover of the fog and the advantage of his huge size, he launched an attack on the monk and won easily. Chen Qingyun didn't even notice the sudden appearance of the other party. It can be said that once this creature moves in the fog, it launches a sneak attack. Even Chen Qingyun needs to deal with it quickly, and he cannot predict in advance where the opponent will appear from and how many there will be. If you encounter a group of void spirits, you might as well run if you can't defeat them. In addition, the second point is what worries Chen Qingyun the most. While exploring, Chen Qingyun discovered that the spiritual energy of heaven and earth in the mist was very thin, almost to the point of being non-existent. The lack of supply of spiritual energy from heaven and earth means that no matter how strong the monks are, as long as they are active here for a long time, they will definitely consume mana. If you want to restore your chi, blood, and magic power, you can't do it through cultivation and absorbing the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. The only feasible and most direct way is to take pills and spiritual objects to achieve rapid recovery. This depends on your own elixirs and whether the material preparations are sufficient. After continuing to move for a stick of incense, I probably traveled a distance of about a kilometer. At this distance, the fog ahead becomes thicker, and it looks like a monster is swooping out at any time, making people want to stop. At this moment, you can clearly feel that there is an icy chill in the surrounding air. Even with the Taoist body of a Zaifu monk, he would still feel a chill if he was active here for a long time. Chen Qingyun stopped moving forward and quickly retreated along the original path. After leaving the foggy area, we set foot on the vast and empty land again, and the air became fresh again. With his sight unobstructed, Chen Qingyun took a few deep breaths and felt as if he had changed to a different world. He only felt that his ears and eyes were clear and the sky was high, allowing birds to fly. The fog is indeed too thick now. Instead of taking risks alone and encountering unknown dangers, it is better to wait for the window to appear. When the fog fades a little, the field of vision will be much wider, which will also increase the reaction time to deal with the void spirits. The Patriarch and Zilin, I have to join them as soon as possible and try to form a team to cross this foggy area together. Chen Qingyun made up his mind and was not in a hurry to leave now. Since the fog has a window period, it is natural that it will not show off at this time. Anyone who can spend less effort and time will choose this way. The annular cloud layer and the core of the immortal mansion have always been located there. They have been like this for thousands of years. They cannot escape, so there is nothing to worry about. Chen Qingyun looked around and made sure there was no threat, so he simply started meditating on the spot. The 6 puppets were spread out in a 6-square grid, lurking around and acting as guardians. In the afternoon, Chen Qingyun counted the pills on his body. There are more than 100 bottles of 2nd and 3rd level pills for restoring mana and blood, which are the harvest accumulated over the past 10 years. Some of the pills have a short shelf life and cannot be preserved until now. For example, the Jade Qiyang spiritual liquid was completely consumed 6 years ago. So if mana is to be restored, it can only be done with pills. Another thing is the magic weapon for storing mana. Chen Qingyun has a Qinglian Yangshen, which stores mana of the same magnitude as the main body. In addition, the middle-grade spirit stones on the body, and even the more precious high-grade spirit stones, can also be used as supplies to quickly restore mana at critical moments. In front of life, spirit stones are naturally external objects. With pills and Qinglian Yangshen as a backing, Chen Qingyun is more or less confident that he can cross half of the distance of this foggy area alone. As long as the void monsters don't swarm up, it's fine, otherwise who can bear it and can only wail. Next, we have to wait for the foggy window to come. According to the rules summarized by Taoist friends of all generations, this window will appear once every 6 months. Counting the days, we only need to wait for another 3 months at most. While waiting, if we can form a team and wait for Chen Xianmin and Liu Zilin to travel together, the 3 of us can help each other and save mana, which would be great. While Chen Qingyun was temporarily staying, the other cultivators around him, a total of 16 people, had arrived, like a group of ferocious beasts lurking here, and the atmosphere became extremely tense and full of gunpowder. Chapter 541, Survival of the Fittest, Killing Array. After testing the density of the fog, the monks around made the same choice as Chen Qingyun, each occupying an area and waiting for the window period to appear. If someone is stubborn and insists on rushing into the fog, no one will stop him. Maybe this latecomer can pick up magic weapons, storage bags and so on in it. During this waiting period, fighting is inevitable. It is no exaggeration to say that now this period seems calm, everyone is on their own, and no major conflict has broken out. In fact, it is the calm before the storm. In addition to strength, the biggest support for crossing the fog area is the assistance of external objects. Spirit pills and spirit stones are the best mana supplies, so the more the better, which can greatly increase the success rate. And in the secluded immortal mansion, will anyone sell these things? As long as you are not stupid, there will definitely be no one. No matter how many spirit stones come here, except for restoring mana and practicing, they are no different from stones. Things like pills are hard currency here and are in the greatest demand. Since you can't buy elixirs, there is only one way to get them. Robbing. That's right, robbing others. Everyone had made sufficient preparations before participating in this experience. Buy as many elixirs, magic weapons, and talismans as you can, and wish you could borrow hundreds of thousands of spirit stones to take everything you can buy and carry. If you grab a cultivator at random, he will have at least 10 bottles of elixirs on him. This is the walking resource, and you can grab one if you grab one. After realizing this, Chen Qingyun couldn't help but sigh that the law of the survival of the fittest should be fully demonstrated here. The greed of the human heart should also be more intuitive and revealed without any cover. Who is the prey and who is the hunter? No one can tell who is the prey here. The next waiting time. Before the foggy window period arrives, it is destined to be unpeaceful. Large-scale battles may break out at any time, and local small battles are estimated to continue. While Chen Qingyun was meditating, as expected, a battle soon broke out around him, and a rolling wave of air erupted. Some cultivators had already begun to attack the surrounding cultivators out of selfish desires in order to replenish their own elixirs. In their own eyes, everyone present had become a resource that could be hunted, that is, a resource supply. In this round of battle, the weakest group of people would be eliminated first. The remaining resources would enrich the pockets of the powerful, which could be regarded as taking local resources and making the best use of them. The big fish eat the small fish, and the small fish eat the shrimp. Chen Qingyun stayed out of it and did not participate. He used the puppet to pay attention to the battles around him and saw that the scattered cultivators present had become the primary targets of attack. It became a tacit understanding shared by the cultivators of the 5 major sects to eliminate the scattered cultivators here. There were also scattered cultivators who killed each other. Instead of being suspicious and guarding against each other, it was better to strike first and eliminate the trouble. As strong as Nangong Yuang, Sun Zongxian, and Qian Daoran, they just relied on their reputation and appearance to sit there quietly. No one dared to step into the area within 100 meters. Such examples are only a minority after all. As a family cultivator, Chen Qingyun had already shown his reputation in his early years and was known by many people, but he was soon targeted. Waited in this area for 3 days. Chen Qingyun, who originally did not intend to hunt his fellow Taoists, detected a movement 100 meters away on the right through the Xuanwu puppet one day. Glancing sideways, he saw 6 sword lights suddenly slashing at him. "Are you planning to attack me?" Chen Qingyun's eyes turned cold, and he had been on guard for a long time. He urged the Xuanwu puppet underground on the right, unfolded a Xuanwu shield that emerged from the ground, and blocked the attack of the 6 sword lights with a bang. Judging from the initial situation of the fight, the 6 sword lights were transformed by magic, not by magic weapons. Just when the attack collapsed, the surrounding strong winds began to move. 3 figures showed their skills or used acceleration talismans, and came from 3 directions, presenting a pincer attack, to encircle Chen Qingyun. Before Chen Qingyun could see their figures and appearances clearly, he could only see that they were 2 men and 1 woman, one of whom was a tall old man. The 3 men attacked at this time without saying anything nonsense, and at the same time activated the magic weapons in their hands to attack Chen Qingyun. Chen Qingyun remained calm in the face of danger and continued to respond with the Xuanwu puppet, casting 3 Xuanwu shields to wrap himself in them. The 3 magic weapons were almost in no particular order, and they came at the same time from a distance, fiercely bombarding the Xuanwu shield. This is a long spear, a green flying needle, and a pen-shaped magic weapon. Under the powerful defense of the Xuanwu shield, the 3 magic weapons were not only firmly resisted, but also bounced off by the rebound force, and scattered in the air. The best magic weapon is indeed not an ordinary soft persimmon. Among the 3 people, the old man in the lead narrowed his eyes. Knowing that it would be useless to continue attacking like this, the old man recalled his spear, held it in his hand, and stared at Chen Qingyun with a sharp gaze. In the other 2 directions, the 2 people, led by the old man, also took back their magic weapons. The 3 of them changed to a hunting formation, blocking Chen Qingyun's way, each holding a formation plate in their hands, and continued to activate the formation. A large curtain of light rose, starting from where the 3 people stood. Accompanied by a series of clicks, like the turning of mechanical gears. A small formation with a light golden color quickly took shape, covering the 4 people. The thick golden barrier directly blocked the sight of the cultivators. No matter from the inside or the outside, they could not see through this barrier. In addition, due to the local conditions, the divine consciousness was blocked here, and the cultivators outside the formation could not see the scene in the formation clearly. Killing, Formation. Taking advantage of this gap, Chen Qingyun saw the formation appear, and saw the use of this formation at a glance. This formation is a bit similar to the Bailing Immortal Slaying formation set up by Taoist Huayu in the past, rippling with sharp and substantial killing intent. The difference is that from the perspective of the fluctuation intensity of the formation, it has reached the third level, extreme level, and its power should not be underestimated. The formation is not big, covering an area of about 90 meters in radius. After it appeared, the air began to be filled with sharp and violent horrors. This aura is the gold attribute in the 5 elements. If you perceive it carefully, you can even detect the gold essence contained in it. This is the sharpest, most domineering, and most violent power. The initial contact makes people feel extremely sharp, and it is usually used to refine killing instruments, killing arrays, etc. This kind of gold essence, after condensing into a solid, is most easily converted into sword energy, with the sharpness of tearing space and cutting off mountains and rivers. This is a killing array known for killing. It can be quickly set up by 3 people in such a short time. This array is indeed somewhat magical. I think it belongs to the array instrument magic weapon. Chapter 542, Gengjin Sword Formation, Sword of Essence. All the cultivators who participated in the training in the Immortal Palace had some backgrounds, and there were many outstanding ones. It was not surprising that they had some special and powerful methods. This kind of gold killing array made Chen Qingyun subconsciously alert, but he did not feel any fear in his heart. As long as the array was performed by humans, there would be flaws. With the 5 elements puppets by his side, he would not necessarily fall into the situation of being suppressed and killed. HMPH, you have become a turtle in a jar. I don't know where you can escape. It's better to surrender obediently. A woman's cold snort sounded, which was particularly clear in the closed array. Looking at the array, Chen Qingyun turned his eyes and saw the appearance of the 3 people. 2 men and 1 woman, each with different clothes, were not from casual cultivators. The oldest old man, wearing the clothes of Wuan Island, was a cultivator of Wuan Island. The other 2, the woman looked to be in her 40s, from Yaoang Mountain, with 3 storage bags hanging around her waist. Among them, 2 storage bags are in the form of herbal bags, the iconic spiritual medicine bags of Yaoang Mountain. The advantage of this bag is that it can store common 1st and 2nd level spiritual medicines on the market. Just pick them and throw them and then pile them up. The last person is dressed like a scholar holding a brush. From the cuffs, collar, and boots on the lining, it can be seen that he is from Chonglu. The old man is the oldest and has the highest cultivation among the 3. He has reached the peak of the Purple Mansion, and the other 2 are in the late Purple Mansion. Judging from their expressions, they should trust each other. Otherwise, in such an environment as the Escape Immortal Mansion, if there is a little suspicion in the heart, even fellow disciples will not have the slightest trust. Not to mention joining forces against the enemy, you may be stabbed in the back. 3 people from different sects are mixed together. It seems that they have a deep relationship. Seeing the origins of the 3 people, Chen Qingyun had a guess in his heart. It is not easy to let 3 cultivators from different sects fight as a team here and join forces with each other. There are only 2 possibilities for this situation. One is that the 3 of them are from the same family, have blood ties, and are considered a family in their bones, so they can be loyal to each other. The other is that the 3 of them, or all casual cultivators, have known each other since childhood, have been through life and death together, and have a deep friendship. Otherwise, casual cultivators usually keep themselves to themselves, are very indifferent, and will not easily trust anyone. Chen Qingyun only took a rough look at the 3 people at the moment and saw the answer, which belongs to the second type. The fact is indeed like this. The 3 of them started as casual cultivators, and with their efforts and talents, they each joined different sects and maintained frequent contacts. This time they were able to work together, and they had a foundation of trust. They also made an immortal oath to each other and swore an oath of blood. Paying attention to Chen Qingyun's every move, the middle-aged woman still wanted to intimidate Chen Qingyun and end the battle quickly. In order to save some spirit stones and mana, she continued to speak coldly with a threatening tone. You, are not a sect cultivator. It is rare for you to come here by chance. Don't go on this road. Stop here. As long as you are willing to hand over the storage bag, we will not embarrass you anymore. In this way, you can save your life and not become a lonely ghost here." As soon as the middle-aged woman finished speaking, a large amount of metal essence quickly gathered into formation. To the naked eye, it looked like golden gravel gathered into a river. These metal essences were full of tearing feelings. Under the effect of the formation, they gathered very quickly and formed hundreds of essence swords. Each of these essence swords was the same size as the flying sword, with a restrained golden light and extreme killing. These essence swords collided, intertwined, and overlapped with each other, revealing an overwhelming killing aura, all pointing to Chen Qingyun with the sword tip tilted to the ground. This array barrier has the effect of blocking sight, so I don't have to hide my tricks. Looking at the surrounding void, a large number of swords of spirit energy hanging in the air and aimed at him, Chen Qingyun's heart was filled with murderous intent. Since they took the initiative to come to my door, I will just release the puppets to win, just in time to kill them to establish my prestige. It's hard to say who will be the turtle in the jar this time. Since this battle is inevitable, it's just right to kill the chicken to scare the monkeys and calm down the monks who are ready to move around. One punch is better than 100 punches. Hee. The scholar stepped forward, thinking that Chen Qingyun was afraid and wanted to retreat, and smiled like a spring breeze. "Sister, he is right. Little brother might as well take the initiative to compromise and make some concessions. If we really want to fight and kill, it's really unmannerly and magnanimous. It shouldn't be like this." With the deterrence of the sword of spirit energy, the scholar felt a sense of superiority in looking down from a high position and making plans. He looked at Chen Qingyun with a smile, but his smile was full of hidden daggers. He was definitely not as gentle as he looked. Compared with these two people, the murderous intent on the face of the old man surnamed Feng was not concealed. Adhering to the principle of long night, many dreams, he first wanted to kill Chen Qingyun to eliminate the trouble forever. Relying on this Gengjin sword formation, the three of them killed a lot of enemies during this period. In total, they killed 3 casual cultivators and 1 Xingzong cultivator. The number of third-level monsters that perished in this formation reached 5. The power of this Gengjin sword formation lies in that it is a very flexible formation that requires a top-grade spirit stone and 3 late-stage purple mansion cultivators to perform. Once the formation is set up, it can condense a continuous stream of swords of energy to kill the enemy before the spirit stones are exhausted. And it takes the route of breaking all laws with one force. And what is even more rare is when the 3 people pass through the Jinxing spirit realm, they absorb a large amount of Gengjin power with this Gengjin sword formation, which greatly enriched the power of the sword formation itself. This allowed the grade of the sword formation to be upgraded from a top-grade magic weapon to a top-grade magic weapon level. This time, they dared to attack Chen Qingyun, and they also relied on the explosive power of this Gengjin sword formation. Unlike the old man surnamed Feng, the middle-aged woman and even the scholar threatened Chen Qingyun to surrender and compromise, in order to save the energy of this top-grade spirit stone. A piece of top-grade spirit stone can maintain the Gengjin sword formation for 10 times, and each time lasts for 1 hour. How precious is a piece of top-grade spirit stone? It is equivalent to a piece of purple mansion crystal. The 3 did not use the formation to suppress Chen Qingyun, but chose to waste their words here, which seemed unnecessary, but in fact they were still thinking of saving high-grade spirit stones. In their opinion, Chen Qingyun was trapped in this formation, and even if he grew wings, he couldn't escape, and there was plenty of time to grind slowly. In Chen Qingyun's opinion, with the appearance of this formation, it just became an excellent tool to cover the outside world's sight, and there was no need to worry about exposing any trump cards. Since these 3 people drew a circle for themselves and sought their own death, it was no wonder that he was rude. Chapter 543 Puppets come out together to catch the turtle in the jar. Compromise. Give in? Facing the threat, Chen Qingyun immediately sneered as if he had heard some big joke. "Oh, it seems you don't want to." Seeing Chen Qingyun's reaction, The smile on the scholar's face faded and there was a tendency to change his face. The middle-aged woman frowned, put her palms on the array plate, and finally said threateningly, "Your life is at stake, don't be stubborn. You are alone, and you will gain nothing by going against us. Don't be so self-righteous that you end up losing your life in vain. Right now, I will show mercy and give you a chance to live. Please think clearly." As they said that, the three of them had a tacit understanding with each other, and at the same time they activated the magic weapons and moved towards the center, as if they were going to fight in the next second. As the main controller of the formation, the old man surnamed Feng controlled the main formation disc, communicating with all the energy in the air. The sword slowly lowered, closing the distance with Chen Qingyun. The cold light flashing on the sword's edge seemed extremely dazzling at this moment, without revealing its edge. Even if you don't look up, you will feel that the sword of essence hanging in the air around your head is cold and ruthless, full of strong killing intent. As long as you dare to say a word no, you will immediately attract swords of energy all over the sky. Chen Qingyun no longer cared about what the middle-aged woman said, or in other words, he had no interest in listening anymore. He had already secretly activated all the 5 elements puppets on his body, and each one launched the earth escape technique and lurked underground first. At the same time, the magic shuttle was summoned into his hand, and Chen Qingyun responded coldly word by word. "That's it, I'll send you on your way." As soon as he finished speaking, the foot-long black shuttle in Chen Qingyun's hand flashed with light. In the blink of an eye, the broken magic shuttle turned into a black light and pierced the old man named Feng. Be bold. Seeing that Chen Qingyun had launched an offensive and was actually speaking so brazenly, the scholar's face darkened and he reprimanded angrily. He changed his face in an instant, waved the brush in his hand, and swung an ink stream of light straight at Chen Qingyun. At the same time, the middle-aged woman also made a move. Unable to intimidate her, she simply threw her palm and shot the flying needle in her hand, hitting Chen Qingyun directly in the face. The writing brush and flying needle are both high-grade magic weapons, which the two of them have mastered for a long time. Cooperating with the old man surnamed Feng, it can have a diversionary effect and influence the enemy's actions. The old man named Feng had already developed a tacit understanding with his two companions. He threw the spear in his hand and pierced Chen Qingyun's pubic area. The one that struck first was an ink-colored stream of light, which magnified in the air and turned into a sword light, reaching a size of 2 feet, and the attack was fierce. Chen Qingyun used his cloud-stepping boots to show his agility and speed, dodging the attacks of flying needles, spears, and writing brushes in just 2 steps. The old man surnamed Feng was particularly cautious. In order to deal with the attack of the broken magic shuttle, he did not easily use magic weapons and magic shields to resist it. Instead, he avoided it out of caution. The higher the cultivation level of the casual cultivator, the richer the combat experience. This move allowed the old man surnamed Feng to save his life. Otherwise, with the effect of breaking the magic shuttle to defeat the shield light, the defense method of the old man named Feng may not be effective. Ginger is really spicy. Chen Qingyun didn't rely on the magic shuttle to kill the enemy. This was just to attract the attention of the 3 people. The broken magic shuttle was empty and flew out into Chen Qingyun's hands. At this time, the 12 puppets lurking underground were controlled by Chen Qingyun, and each of them turned into a killing weapon, each preparing its own moves. "Little brother, you are stubborn. Now you insist on destroying yourself. You think you are the opponent of the 3 of us. It is really ridiculous. I will take your head as you wish." The old man named Feng laughed wildly. With the help of the formation, it can be said that he is full of confidence. Looking at Chen Qingyun, he regarded Chen Qingyun as a conceited and arrogant younger generation. He really thought that he was so great because of his ability. This kind of young Zaifu monk has killed 2 people in the past 2 months. Without saying a word, Chen Qingyun used the puppet's perspective and induction to grasp all the changes in the entire formation area, every plant and tree, and took control of the overall situation. The puppet's actions here are enough to start a hearty killing. This was a one-sided massacre. First of all, the 4 puppets of Sword Immortal, Poseidon, Vulcan and Tanlai took action and took the lead in attacking the old man named Feng. This person is the strongest, and as the leader, he has the most combat experience. He naturally captures the thief first and captures the king first. None of the three people realized that they had become prey. Instead, they each winked, quickly communicated with the formation disc in their hands, and controlled the sword of essence in the formation to kill Chen Qingyun. However, at this moment, a scream suddenly rang out, and the sound was full of fear. What the hell? What's going on? This sudden scream made the middle-aged woman look shocked, and she heard the source of the sound. Mr. Feng. The scholar was also attracted, secretly saying something bad. The two of them followed the sound and saw that the old man surnamed Feng was surrounded by 4 puppets at some unknown time. The spear in his hand was being caught by a puppet with thunder all over its body, and was held firmly in his hand. Next to him, there was a puppet holding a long knife. The sword flashed in his hand. In just the initial exchange, one of the right arms of the old man surnamed Feng was cut off and he was bleeding. What the hell? Where did the monk come from? Seeing this scene, the scholar and the middle-aged woman spoke up one after another, realizing that the battle situation was out of their control. The old man surnamed Feng covered his arm. He was also experienced. He didn't care about the spear caught by the thunder puppet and immediately gave it up with pain. He took a pill in time to stop bleeding and heal his wounds, and shouted, "Be careful, this kid is a puppeteer." He was cautious enough to activate 2 third-level top-grade defensive talismans in a row. 2 dark yellow defensive bells appeared, covered with white runes. The bell walls were 2 fingers thick. With 2 clangs, he was protected inside and outside. "Puppet Master, I underestimated you." The scholar reacted and changed to activating the brush in his hand, turning it into a broom and slapping the thunder puppet, trying to temporarily assist the old man surnamed Feng. The thunder puppet tilted its head, raised its right arm, and thunder gathered in its palm, and the electric light shone. With a rumble, like a spring thunder, a bolt of lightning as thick as an arm blasted out from the palm of his hand, hitting the brush magic weapon. The brush magic weapon trembled after being bombarded, and cracks appeared on the surface, and then it exploded. My magic weapon! The magic weapon was destroyed, and the scholar cried out in pain, so he had to ignore the old man surnamed Feng for the time being. At the moment, the old man surnamed Feng's defense method was really impeccable. The 2 most precious defense talismans on his body were directly used, and there was really no better defense method. I thought that this would be able to withstand the attack of the puppet. But the next moment, I saw a puppet standing in front of me, waving the fairy sword in his hand, and slashing with a sword with an indifferent face. The strong sword energy made the old man surnamed Feng terrified. Purple Mansion, Peak. Chapter 544, The Jade and the Stone are destroyed together, unexpected. Amid the exclamation of the old man surnamed Feng, the sword of the sword immortal puppet reflected a snow-white sword light, as if the world was shining for a moment. The old man surnamed Feng subconsciously narrowed his eyes, because the speed of the immortal sword was too fast, and he had no time to dodge, so he could only rely on the talisman to resist. Crack. The 2 defensive bells were as brittle as paper, and they were shattered in an instant after being slashed by the sword, and they were vulnerable. The old man surnamed Feng widened his eyes in disbelief, and his face showed a ghost-like expression. How? But, before he could say the 4 words "how is it possible," this sword and the defensive talisman together split the old man surnamed Feng forcefully, and he was the first to be killed on the spot. The sword immortal puppet is known for its high attack. In the Purple Mansion period, it can be said that one sword can break all methods. No matter how much combat experience, strategies and means, in front of absolute strength, it is ultimately a small witch meeting a big witch. The body fell to the ground, and the old man surnamed Feng stared with his eyes wide open, unable to believe that he would die here, in the hands of a younger generation. Old Feng. When the old man surnamed Feng was killed, another scream rang out. This time it was the scholar. "You really deserve to die." The scholar's face was gloomy, and he looked at Chen Qingyun fiercely. His heart was already occupied by a strong killing intent. He frantically urged the array in his hand, connecting half of the swords of essence in the air to launch an attack, and stabbed Chen Qingyun fiercely. In an instant, these swords of essence overlapped with each other, bursting out golden colors, condensing into substantial sword energy. With the supreme momentum of splitting the world and destroying everything, the sword of essence fell down with a bang, locking Chen Qingyun. Feeling the solemn and sharp aura sweeping from the sky above his head. Chen Qingyun's heart was as calm as water, and he used the cloud-stepping boots, and with the blessing of the 5 elements of heavenly escape, he avoided the attacks of the swords of essence very lightly. Rumble. These swords of essence hit the air and fell to the ground, penetrating 5 or 6 meters underground, spreading spiderweb-like cracks around, and the dust was flying for a while. The violent and sharp sword energy swept across, cutting the surroundings with a whimpering sound. If this kind of attack from the sword of essence hits a cultivator, it is enough to pierce the cultivator into a sieve and wipe him out completely. It is probably difficult to resist with defensive magic weapons, and the magic weapons will be pierced with holes and scrapped on the spot. You, give me your life. The scholar's face became fierce after failing to kill Chen Qingyun with one blow, and he urged the formation plate in his hand more frantically. Witnessing his companions being killed, the scholar's mind was greatly stimulated, and he realized that if he still hid his head and showed his tail at this time, and only thought about saving spirit stones, the end would only be a dead body on the spot. More than 20 swords of essence were summoned, and the power of each sword was no different from that of a late Purple Mansion cultivator using a flying sword. This number of swords of essence combined together is enough to fight against the top cultivators of Purple Mansion. But how can Chen Qingyun be an ordinary Purple Mansion? Chen Qingyun controlled the heavenly sword puppet to travel underground, quietly went around the scholar's back, and controlled the black tortoise puppet to stand in front of him. The black tortoise puppet appeared, and continued to use the black tortoise shield light as a defense, holding up a huge black tortoise shield light to protect Chen Qingyun firmly. These swords of essence showed their sharpness, and they stabbed straight at high speed, but were all blocked and bounced off, making a metallic buzzing sound. Seeing that the swords of essence did not work, the scholar's expression changed, and he pinched his hands and sacrificed a jade seal from his storage bag. With the injection of mana, the jade seal extended from the size of a palm to the size of a bullfight, like a mountain falling, and hit Chen Qingyun in one fell swoop. This thing is called the Mountain Shaking Seal, a top-grade magic weapon that can forcefully break through many defensive magic weapons. Boom. When the two came into contact, the Xuanwu shield light only trembled slightly, still as immovable as a mountain, unbreakable. I wonder how long you can hold on. The scholar looked ferocious, and he had long lost his previous calmness, and continued to control the jade seal to smash wildly. The middle-aged woman took advantage of the situation and closed the distance with the scholar. She stopped using the flying needles in her hand, and instead activated the hairpin on her head to resist the two puppets of the god of fire and the god of the sea that were coming from all around. At the same time, a large number of talismans, ranging from the first to the second level, totaling more than 30 pieces, were thrown out by her in a swarm. Various thunderstorms, fireballs, ice spikes, strong winds, etc., all envelop the puppets of the god of the sea and the god of fire. What is the use of such an attack? It's just self-consumption. Puff. At this time, before the Xuanwu shield light broke, a sound of a sharp blade piercing flesh and blood sounded. When the scholar was puzzled, he suddenly felt a sharp pain in his chest. The next second. He looked down subconsciously, and saw that a heavenly sword had pierced through his body at his heart, with a bloody blade tip emerging. A tall figure, holding a heavenly sword at some point, stood behind him and launched this fatal attack. What? The scholar's eyes widened. Without divine sense to investigate, he could only turn his head and look back, staring at the cold face of the heavenly sword puppet. You. The heavenly sword puppet's sword was very simple, not fancy at all. Ignoring the fear and unwillingness on the scholar's face, The heavenly sword puppet prepared to swing the sword and end the opponent's life. The scholar's face turned fierce, and he looked at Chen Qingyun with great viciousness. Knowing that he had no chance of winning, he suddenly laughed like a madman, with bright red blood flowing from the corners of his mouth. Ha 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 ha! You want to kill me? Die, then die for me. Before he finished speaking, the scholar was very decisive, frantically concentrating all his magic power on the three dachans of upper, middle and lower. In an instant, his whole body began to swell up like a balloon, emitting a violent destructive force. Self-destruct. Seeing the scholar's intention, Chen Qingyun narrowed his eyes. This man looked weak and gentle, but he was not merciful to his enemies at all, and was even more extremely decisive than the old man. The self-destruction of a late purple mansion cultivator could sweep over a radius of more than 100 meters, and could easily kill cultivators of the same level. Even a peak purple mansion cultivator had to retreat in time, otherwise he would be skinned alive. The scholar was obviously in a desperate situation, knowing that he had no way out. Not only did he lose his chance of winning, but his chance of survival was also rapidly disappearing. So, he simply didn't care about anything, and just wanted to take advantage of his remaining breath to drag Chen Qingyun to be buried together, which led to this move. It's not that easy to self-destruct and blow up the puppets, and both sides will suffer. Chen Qingyun was about to let the heaven sword puppet escape underground and let the black tortoise puppet reinforce a layer of defense. The next moment, he saw a bright light above the scholar's head. A golden bell suddenly fell down, as big as two people, and wrapped around the scholar with a clang, covering him tightly. At the moment when the bell fell, the scholar's face first showed a look of disbelief. Obviously he didn't expect this. Then, Chen Qingyun on the other side showed a hint of surprise, and he also didn't expect this. The eyes of the two people looked in the same direction at the same time. Chapter 545, Stabbed in the Back, Black-Bellied Centipede. The self-destruction has been triggered and cannot be withdrawn. The scholar and the middle-aged woman looked at each other with disbelief on their faces. Bang! Then, the scholar exploded like a giant bomb. The powerful explosion filled the interior of the golden bell. The entire golden bell could not resist and exploded with a bang, breaking into pieces. Under the self-destruction of the purple mansion cultivator, this top-grade magic weapon was shattered and turned into scrap metal. Fortunately, the power of the explosion was offset by 80% to 90%. The residual power of the self-destruction swept out, and it could not cause any waves. A cultivator who had just entered the purple mansion period could easily resist it. It's her. Chen Qingyun witnessed the whole process. When his eyes fell on the middle-aged woman, a rare trace of fear appeared in his eyes. Good tricks. This fear was not because of the strength of the middle-aged woman, but because of her cruel heart of stabbing in the back and harming her companions. Just now, it was at the moment when the scholar was about to self-destruct. The middle-aged woman who was standing next to the scholar, at the critical moment, decisively sacrificed a big bell and covered the scholar in one fell swoop. The other party did this in order not to be affected. Even though she knew that the scholar was planning to lose both sides and burn both sides. But for her own selfish desires, she would not be implicated by the self-explosion, so she was merciless and would rather abandon her companions to save herself. Selfishness, fear of death, the most poisonous woman's heart. This is shown in the other party. Chen Qingyun had to look up to this middle-aged woman. Being so cruel and ruthless, although she would be criticized morally, it would undoubtedly help her go further on the road. With the threat lifted, the scholar never thought that his last blow of burning both sides would be disintegrated in this way. The partner who once fought side by side, practiced together, and regarded as a friend of life and death would stab him like this. If you want to die, don't drag me along with you. After walking on the edge of life and death and almost dying, the middle-aged woman showed a look of resentment on her face, and she looked like she was still frightened. In her opinion, the scholar's self-explosion was suicide, and he was dragging herself down with it. So in order to protect herself, she used the magic weapon to block and offset the power of the explosion in advance. This was a last resort for her own life. So the scholar's death was not ended by her. There was only one left out of the three enemies, and such a scene was staged. This battle made Chen Qingyun see the sinisterness of human hearts again. Seemingly sensing the murderous intention from Chen Qingyun, the middle-aged woman acted submissive to save her life to the end, showing a pitiful look towards Chen Qingyun. Senior, I am blind and have offended you. I am willing to offer my entire fortune, work like a slave for you, and obey any orders you give me. You can do whatever you want me to do, but please spare my life. The words were full of flattery and begging for mercy, and it looked like a compromise. She had threatened Chen Qingyun before, asking him to compromise, and now this responsibility fell on her. But saying so does not mean that she would think so in her heart. As soon as the words fell, before Chen Qingyun responded, she took off the 2 spiritual medicine bags on her waist and offered them to Chen Qingyun. These are the spiritual medicines that I have picked recently in the Immortal Mansion, including 3 rare 3rd-level herbs. Please accept them. After experiencing Shui Ningzu's plan and witnessing the power of Yinhu Ally, now thinking of the middle-aged woman's previous fierceness, the best way is to kill her completely. The Zhuxiantu puppet pushed forward with its palm, shooting out 2 metal spikes, and with 2 puffs, it pierced the 2 flying medicine bags. In an instant, more than 20 medicinal herbs lost their storage and scattered on the ground. Seeing this, the middle-aged woman panicked and hurriedly urged the monster hidden in one of the medicine bags to turn into a black line and rush straight towards Chen Qingyun. After many battles, Chen Qingyun had been prepared, so how could he be fooled by such a trick? The Zhuxiantu puppet changed to perform the ground spike technique, and dozens of ground spikes pierced out from the ground, instantly covering the area of dozens of meters in front of him. The black shadow was not strong, not even at the Purple Mansion stage, that is, the peak stage of foundation building. This time, the 2 ground spikes pierced through his body and nailed him to the ground, and black blood flowed from the wound. Chen Qingyun glanced and once again witnessed the viciousness of the middle-aged woman. Black-bellied centipede. This black-bellied centipede is a 2nd-level top-grade monster. When it grows up, it can reach the size of an arm. The saliva flowing from its mouth is more terrifying than sulfuric acid. When it is contaminated by an enemy, it can turn the enemy into a pool of pus. This monster is not weak. If it is cultivated, it may advance to the 3rd level. It's a pity that after experiencing the Battle of Xingzhou, it has easily killed the Mermaid Witch, the Poisonous Dragon, and even the Thunderstorm Beast behind all kinds of difficult monsters. This mere 2nd level, in Chen Qingyun's view, does not need to be taken action by himself. He can kill it with 1 claw by releasing the green spirit. It can be restrained by nature. The 2 ground spikes pierced through the vitals. The black-bellied centipede curled up its body, struggled twice, and was completely dead. Looking at the spiritual medicine scattered on the ground, Chen Qingyun didn't care about any distress. He would check it carefully later. Is there really a 3rd-level spiritual medicine? This middle-aged woman was really willing to take action. She put the black-bellied centipede in the spiritual medicine bag in advance and hid the trick. The spiritual medicine bag can preserve spiritual medicine and keep it fresh. Naturally, it can also be used as a spiritual beast bag to store spiritual beasts. If any unlucky person gets such a bag of spiritual medicine, he would be happy to count the spoils. As a result, when the bag is opened, a black-bellied centipede jumps out and spits out saliva. Then the result is really a blessing in disguise. No matter how poisonous this black-bellied centipede is, it is not as vicious as the middle-aged woman. Seeing that the plot was exposed, the middle-aged woman, under the gaze of Chen Qingyun, turned into a frightened bird and quickly retreated to the back, trying to force a gap in the formation with the formation plate and escape. The Heaven Sword puppet held the knife indifferently, strode out, and turned to chase the middle-aged woman. The sword immortal puppet made a move at the same time, walking side by side with the Heaven Sword puppet, full of unchallengeable majesty. Witnessing Chen Qingyun's methods with her own eyes, it was simply unprecedented, and the middle-aged woman's face was already full of fear. What kind of monster are you? What kind of monster are you? In the face of life and death, there is no other way. Run. Her only thought now was to run as far as possible and never dare to provoke the killing god in front of her again. If she hadn't seen it with her own eyes, she would never believe that she had several Purple Mansion Peak puppets at the same time. A young Purple Mansion cultivator actually had such a terrifying method in his hands. Facing the middle-aged woman's crazy questioning, Chen Qingyun ignored it and had no intention of answering. Swish, swish, swish. Several figures emerged from the ground, turning into human forms, some holding bows and arrows, and some carrying flaming wings. The middle-aged woman had nowhere to escape. She was temporarily blocked by the formation, and now she was tightly surrounded by the 12 puppets around her, and she suddenly became a fish to be slaughtered. Chapter 546, Poisoning the Herbs and Obtaining the Formation. Besieged by 12 Purple Mansion Peak puppets, with no way out, the middle-aged woman seemed at a loss, and in panic she used all kinds of means. She threw out the last dozen talismans on her body in a row, rumbling, and attacks such as fire, ice, and thunderstorms continued. The highest of these talismans was only the second level upper grade, and hitting the puppets was like tickling. The outcome of the battle was already decided, and Chen Qingyun did not need to go into battle to kill the enemy himself, just watch coldly from the side. The 12 puppets completely ignored the attacks of the talismans and blocked them all safely. At the same time, they surrounded the middle-aged woman, each showing their aura and surrounding her heavily. Facing the 12 Purple Mansion Peak puppets, the middle-aged woman realized the huge gap in strength and was horrified, and her face was even more shocked. 12 Purple Palace Peak puppets, you? Who are you? How is this possible? The middle-aged woman knew that she had no hope of escaping, so she had to frantically activate the array plate while she was speaking, trying to communicate with the array to kill Chen Qingyun. This was the only thing she could rely on to turn the tide. However, the death of the old man surnamed Feng and the scholar limited the power of the array, which was not enough to exert 70% of its power. Barely, she could only control more than 10 swords of spirit. If she waited for more than 10 breaths, the array would dissipate by itself due to the lack of 2 controllers. The middle-aged woman looked like a madman, and she couldn't run away. She could only control more than a dozen swords of spirit in order and float in the air. The range of her sweeping slash was so large that it covered the heavenly sword, fire god, flying, wind spirit, black tortoise and sword immortal puppets within the attack range. But this was a 5-element puppet, which was agile and could be integrated into the 5 elements. At the moment when the sword of essence broke through the air, the heavenly sword puppets and others each used water magic to turn into water flow and evade. Or they directly used earth escape and evaded underground. The sword of essence hit nothing and failed to play its advantage. How can this puppet be so magical? What on earth is this thing? Seeing that the puppet could also turn into water flow, flame, and evade underground, the middle-aged woman was frightened and looked around in panic. The 12 puppets attacked together and launched an attack at the same time. Flame, heavenly sword, ice, flying sword, etc. were jointly launched, all hitting one area, blocking the middle-aged woman's way. This high-intensity attack is not much weaker than the Gangjin sword formation, and it has better flexibility. No. The middle-aged woman only has the cultivation of the late Purple Mansion. How can she fight against the 12 5-elements puppets? In despair, she was overwhelmed by the attacks one after another and soon lost her voice. The third enemy, beheaded. The 3 of them had calculated everything, but they had never expected Chen Qingyun's fighting power to be so strong. The Gangjin sword formation that they were so proud of, as well as the strength that they could exert when they joined forces, had no effect in front of Chen Qingyun. The 12 puppets came out together. Even though the flying boat puppets could not fly, they could rely on the 5 elements magic to easily kill the 3 people. Without the supply of spiritual stones from the cultivators, the Gangjin sword formation slowly converged and began to automatically withdraw. After winning the battle, Chen Qingyun cleaned up the magic weapons, storage bags and formation plates on the ground, and burned the bodies of the 3 people to ashes. He took a rough look at the more than 20 spiritual medicines scattered on the ground. Golden sun grass, yellow bud flower, forget dust grass, Snow ginseng. Chen Qingyun recognized a lot of them, all of which were first to second level, and there were no third level medicinal materials. Obviously, in order to let Chen Qingyun open the spiritual medicine bag and be attacked by the black-bellied centipede, the middle-aged woman deliberately made up a lot. There is a black-bellied centipede in the bag. I don't know if these herbs are affected by the toxin. This woman is insidious. I can't be sure if she has tampered with these herbs. I'd better not touch them casually. The herbs are not expensive, so we can't lose the big picture for the small. Chen Qingyun released a fireball spell and burned them all. When several second-level herbs turned into charcoal, they quickly diffused the pungent black gas, which was very different from the smell of burning. Chen Qingyun knew some Qingguang pharmacology and saw at a glance that the toxins contained in the black gas were not transformed from the substances of the herbs themselves. The toxin substances injected later. This Yaoang mountain monk really set traps everywhere, and it's right to play it safe. Chen Qingyun was glad that he didn't touch those spiritual medicines just now. To make the other party willing to destroy the herbs, he also had to poison them. This poison must be not simple enough to target the Purple Mansion monks. Otherwise, why bother? All the herbs were destroyed. There was nothing to regret. Chen Qingyun's mind moved, and the 12 puppets all performed the earth escape technique, all escaping underground and continuing to hide. A moment later, when the battle scene was dealt with, the Qingguang sword formation disappeared, and Chen Qingyun's figure reappeared on this land. The battle was over, and the dust settled. In the distance, there were cultivators watching the battle as bystanders. It was just because of the cover of the formation that they could not see the scene inside the formation and what happened. Now, when seeing that only Chen Qingyun appeared, and the 3 old men surnamed Feng were nowhere to be seen. How could it be seen that the result of this battle? Some people couldn't help but sigh. He killed 2 late purple mansions and 1 purple mansion peak alone. This is a ruthless person. Killing the 3 old men surnamed Feng made Chen Qingyun's strength recognized by these people again, and the original idea of taking action was instantly thrown out of the window. Chen Qingyun looked calm, as if he had never experienced a battle before, and his eyes swept around. With this glance, he stared at the 2 closest monks from a distance, causing the 2 to avoid looking directly at him. This man cannot be provoked. If you can't beat him, you can't hide. It's better to stay away from him. The other 2 monks farther away moved their positions, distanced themselves from Chen Qingyun, and stopped a few thousand meters away. They were afraid of being remembered by Chen Qingyun and becoming prey to be fought over. In the distance, where they couldn't see, there were faint sounds of fighting, and a desperate fight was taking place. Soon the battle gradually subsided and the winner was decided. Everyone was waiting for the window period, which made it uneasy here. In order to replenish supplies, some monks began to attack their fellows. Sitting cross-legged on the ground, Chen Qingyun rested and recuperated, and counted the harvest this time. The most valuable one was the Qingguang sword formation. Chen Qingyun studied it and found that this formation used a top-grade spirit stone as energy, and it needed 3 cultivators to control it together to start the formation. For outsiders, it was not a precious treasure. After all, not everyone had a top-grade spirit stone, and they would not be willing to waste it. Chen Qingyun had a top-grade spirit stone in his hand, and he could use puppets to set up the formation and move around, which was very flexible and very practical. With this set of Qingguang sword formation, this battle was worth it and not in vain. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 547 Zhuangguangjian, Cooperation comes to you. In addition to the Qingguang sword formation, there were 37 magic weapons and spirit stones, half of which were snatched by the 3 people fighting. The same was true for the latter, spirit stones. There were 2 high-grade spirit stones, more than 3,000 medium-grade spirit stones, and the total number of low-grade spirit stones was over 20,000. What surprised Chen Qingyun was the storage bag of the old man surnamed Feng, which contained 63 kinds of spiritual medicines, 2 of which were of the 3rd level. The appearance of these spiritual medicines made up for the loss of those spiritual medicines that were cleaned and burned before. As for the elixir, the middle-aged woman had the most, with a total of 39 bottles of elixirs for restoring chi, blood and mana, ranging from the 1st level to the 3rd level. In addition, in the scholar's storage bag, Chen Qingyun found a token-shaped magic weapon, named Zhuxiantu, which was a top-grade defensive magic weapon. Holding such a magic weapon but not using it, it was obviously underestimated Chen Qingyun, and he did not expect the heavenly sword puppet. However, even if the Wanjiantu was used, it could only resist for a moment longer, and it still could not escape the fate of being killed. Using puppets as a guardian, Chen Qingyun collected these spoils, took out 2 medium-grade spirit stones, and began to recover his mana. Outside the foggy area, as more cultivators arrived in this land, the hunting action continued. The number of cultivators participating in the training has been decreasing. In order to get rid of being targeted, some simply stopped waiting for the window period and chose to cross the foggy area to fight. As for those who retreated to the 5 elements spirit realm or the outer area of the immortal mansion, there was none. After working hard and finally getting a place to participate, it was naturally impossible for them to come to play soy sauce. Everyone wants to get more and better opportunities, and will not let go of a single spiritual herb. 60 years per term. How many 60 years can a purple mansion cultivator have? In the past few days, many cultivators gathered here began to choose to release their own cultivation aura and use their cultivation as a deterrent. Showing off one's strength is a good way to protect oneself, and it can directly prevent attacks from fellow practitioners. If you want to take action, you should first consider your own weight. Those with low cultivation can only try to hide as much as possible. For cultivators who can come here, even if their cultivation seems to be only in the late or even middle stage of the purple mansion, they must have some powerful trump cards in their hands, and you can't judge people by appearance. Of course, there are also people like Chen Qingyun, who are obviously very strong, but they just want to play the pig and eat the tiger. After the monks' release of their cultivation aura spread, some people began to look for teammates, thinking about forming a team and preparing to act together. Not all participants are short of supplies, but what they lack more is teammates. The most typical ones are the cultivators from the 5 major sects. These sect cultivators have connections with their fellow disciples and have the basis for teaming up, so it is easy to find teammates. For example, Chen Qingyun, Hongrai Daoran, Zhang Yingxing and other independent cultivators are cultivators from families or small forces. They can only give priority to friends and relatives to form a team. At worst, they can rely on the immortal oath to establish trust and conduct short-term cooperation. As a purple mansion peak cultivator, he will be regarded as the first choice for cooperation. From this point of view, the first to bear the brunt is naturally Nangang Yuang, who is the most popular and the first choice to be won over. But the result is that no one wants to join forces with Nangang Yuang. Nangang Yuang has been famous for a long time, although he is also at the Purple Mansion peak. He has not exaggeratedly surpassed the Purple Mansion period. But no matter from equipment, skills, combat experience, or means, even the strength of the soul, he is outstanding in all aspects. There are certainly benefits to cooperating with such a top purple mansion, which can more easily fight against those void monsters and reduce risks. However, there is also a new risk that comes with it, that is, to beware of Nangang Yuang. It is necessary to guard against people's hearts. Once Nangang Yuang attacks his teammates on the way, what will be the consequences? Even masters of Hunyuan Qi on Daoran's level think that they don't have the ability to fight Nangang Yuang alone, but will put themselves in an unfavorable situation and seek the skin of a tiger. It is precisely because of this consideration that everyone, out of fear, first excluded Nangang Yuang, which is a bit isolated. Since ancient times, the strong have always been lonely. Nangang Yuang wants to cooperate, unless there is interest to attract. otherwise he can only unite with his fellow disciples. Therefore, in everyone's opinion, the safest way is to cooperate with cultivators who are equal to their own strength. In this way, some worries can be saved. At least when they can join forces to fight the enemy, the difference in strength between them is not big, and there is no need to worry about being suppressed by internal strife. A small team cooperation has already reflected the thoughts of many people, who think more about themselves. The first choice is to cooperate with cultivators who are equal to their own strength or weaker. This is like if there is no huge interest as an attraction, the foundation building cultivator will not cooperate with a Purple Mansion cultivator, so as not to be used as a pawn. This was a contribution, but in the end, they were treated as cannon fodder and cleared away. Even if the treasures were divided in the end, they could only get a little soup, and the meat was still taken by the Purple Mansion cultivators. On the contrary, Qian Daoran and Han Wu became the most frequently Wu targets, and their strength was recognized by everyone. Traveling with the strong is the most recognized way to save lives. At least when traveling in the fog, everyone is tied to a boat and united to face the outside world, which can reduce many internal conflicts and is much safer than traveling alone. No one wants to become a dead soul under the claws of the void monster, and they are all afraid of death. However, people of Han Wu and Taoist Qian are just like Nangang Yuang. They are used to being high and mighty, and naturally look down on ordinary Purple Mansion cultivators. Even if they want to cooperate, they will either do it within their own family or join forces with weaker Purple Mansion peak masters. They don't want to bring any burdens with them. Chen Qingyun paid attention and saw Nangang Yuang, Han Wu, and Taoist Qian here. It's not surprising that these three people can arrive here unexpectedly. Jizun's breath or figure has not appeared yet. As the leader of Yang Mountain, this woman's strength is unquestionable. She can definitely survive the five elements spirit realm safely, and it is even more impossible for her to fall in the outer area of the Immortal Mansion. Jizun has not appeared yet, which makes Chen Qingyun smell a hint of unusual smell. It seems that there is something more important, which makes Jizun deliberately slow down her pace. Has the other party entered the foggy area? Chen Qingyun stayed here for a few days, because he won the previous battle easily and was very powerful. Some cultivators began to come to him to seek cooperation. The first cultivator who came was a family cultivator from the Wan family, a Purple Mansion family in the Inner Star Sea, named Wanjiantu. This person specifically came for cooperation and hoped to team up with Chen Qingyun to cross the foggy area together in the near future. Chapter 548 Lingziden, Lingyuanda and number 039 S pattern. Wanjiantu's cultivation is in the late Purple Mansion, and he has already stepped into the peak of the Purple Mansion. He is not a small figure in the Inner Star Sea. When waiting for the appearance of Yunzong Xianmen, Chen Qingyun heard some of Wanjiantu's deeds from Liu Zilin. This person is the most outstanding cultivator of the Wan family and has a good talent. Born with the support of the Purple Mansion family, he has resources and reputation, and the whole family has devoted their efforts to cultivate him. This made Wanjiantu the center of attention since he was a child, and his character has become more arrogant and conceited. Compared with Wang Xian, Wanjiantu also likes to bully others by taking advantage of his power, but he is good at disguising himself, has a deep mind, and his temperament is a little unpredictable. The other party looks harmonious and enthusiastic at this time, but what is he thinking in his heart? Only he knows. Talking about joining forces, such a person may not really be able to put down his posture and work together with Chen Qingyun, a young junior. I have no intention of cooperating. Adhering to the principle of not cooperating easily if you are not familiar with someone, Chen Qingyun directly refused without much consideration. When he heard Chen Qingyun's response, Wanjiantu raised his eyebrows imperceptibly. After a moment of hesitation, he forced a smile. Deu, I am the first person in the Ling family. Within 10 years, I will inherit the position of the patriarch of the Ling family. You will not suffer any loss if you cooperate with me. After the matter is done, you helped me this time, and you will definitely benefit in the future. It is hard to say whether he can survive to the end and complete this experience. Now he is drawing cakes. Chen Qingyun shook his head secretly, but he doesn't buy it. Please, go back. Chen Qingyun once again issued an order to expel him. After being rejected for the second time, Wanjiantu finally couldn't hide his expression and showed displeasure on his face. But considering that this place is not suitable for fighting and consuming his own strength, he had to say in a deep voice, "Beasts always walk alone, and this is absolutely true. With such strength, it seems that fellow Taoist Chen really does not need to cooperate with me. Sorry for disturbing you this time, goodbye." Wanjiantu left with his sleeves swung, and turned to find Han Wu to cooperate. Less than an hour after Wanjiantu, the second visitor appeared. This time it was Ling Yuanda, and Chen Qingyun had some impression of him. He was the mortal enemy of the Huo family before. Chen Qingyun sat cross-legged and said nothing, guessing the other party's intention, waiting for the other party to speak. "Fellow Taoist Chen, I have heard of your name for a long time, now I see you again." Fellow Taoist Chen's demeanor is even better than before. He is really a dragon among men and a leader of the contemporary era. Ling Yuanda is the second elder of the Ling family after all. He is very smooth in dealing with people and has no arrogance. He praised him as soon as he opened his mouth, saying good things first. Chen Qingyun did not comment, and said, "Fellow Taoist Ling, if you have anything to say, just say it. There is no need to beat around the bush here." Haha, fellow Taoist Chen is also a straightforward person, so I will speak directly. Ling Yuanda straightened his face. Fellow Taoist Chen already knows the dangers and difficulties in the foggy area. If I rely on myself alone, the hope of crossing the foggy area is really slim. Fellow Taoist Chen, you have good means and your strength is far superior to mine. For you, it must not be a problem to cross it safely. So, my strength is limited, and I think I still need to find a top master to follow me, so I come to bother you. If fellow Taoist Chen doesn't mind, can I follow you and take care of you on the way? I have a bottle of elixir here. If fellow Taoist Chen doesn't mind, please accept it. As soon as the voice fell, unlike Wanjiantu, Ling Yuanda was generous and took out a bottle of Ling Zidan as a cooperation gift. Ling Zidan is a third-grade middle-grade elixir, which can quickly restore mana. For a peak purple mansion cultivator, the recovery effect is about 50%, and the peak cultivation is 30%. A bottle of Ling Zidan, a total of 3 pills, is not a very precious thing. If we take local conditions into consideration, what everyone lacks and needs most now is this kind of elixir. After confirming Ling Yuanda's intention, Chen Qingyun looked at the Ling Zidan in front of him with a fixed gaze. The appearance of Ling Zidan is enough to prove Ling Yuanda's sincerity and cooperation. However, he is not short of elixirs, but teammates, trustworthy teammates. Frankly speaking, Ling Yuanda has the entire Ling family behind him, so there is no need to worry about the other party playing tricks and causing trouble for the family. Of course, he can be a partner and take him along. But even so, this person is not the most suitable, because there is not much contact and it is unclear what kind of person he is. Chen is not the most suitable candidate. Dao should ask for someone else. Chen Qingyun did not accept the elixir and politely rejected Ling Yuanda. Ling Yuanda smiled and bowed his hands after hearing this. Well, I am sorry for disturbing you. Fellow Taoist Chen is blessed with great fortune. I will need your care in the future. This bottle of Ling Zidan is given to you. I always like to make friends. Don't be disgusted by me. If you need anything in the future, come to me as soon as possible. Even if the deal fails, Ling Yuanda still likes to leave a way out. Even if the cooperation fails this time, he is still willing to give Ling Zidan as a gesture of sincerity to win over Chen Qingyun. Chen Qingyun's eyes fell on the jade bottle. There is no free lunch in the world. It is not known whether this Ling Zidan that was suddenly sent has been poisoned or tampered with. Out of vigilance, Chen Qingyun has no intention of accepting it casually. Haha. Fellow Taoist Chen is indeed cautious. No wonder he has achieved such success. He is much more cautious than when I was young. Ling Yuanda was thoughtful and saw that Chen Qingyun would question the safety of the pill, so he took a pill in front of Chen Qingyun with a smile to prove that there was no problem with the pill. "Thank you." Seeing this, Chen Qingyun was not polite and accepted the pill. "See you later." After Chen Qingyun's invitation was rejected, Ling Yuanda could only ask for help from someone else, and he left after a polite word. When Ling Yuanda walked away, Chen Qingyun took out the Ling Zidan and looked at it in his hand for a moment. Ling Zidan. The other party took a pill to ensure that there was no problem with the pill. But as long as you are prepared, equipped with the corresponding detoxification pill and defensive measures, you can take it at will. The most common way for the magic cultivator to control the cultivator, turn him into a puppet that can be controlled at will, plant the spell, etc. is to tamper with the pill and plant the magic method. Chen Qingyun had traveled to this world and had seen too many sinister people's hearts. He would not really take the pills given by outsiders. It was not safe to carry it with him, lest it become a means for outsiders to track and locate him. After thinking about it, Chen Qingyun lit a flame in his hand and destroyed the bottle of Ling Zidan, completely erasing the traces of its existence. On the other hand, Ling Yuanxing did not know that the pills he gave him had not even been warmed up, but because of Chen Qingyun's cautiousness, they had been completely wiped out. Chapter 549, Encountering Liu Zilin, the insect-controlling female cultivator. Ling Yuanda did this and was willing to give the pills. He really had no bad intentions, and he didn't set up any conspiracy. Instead, he wanted to make friends with Chen Qingyun sincerely. It was totally worth it to show goodwill to Chen Qingyun with 2 Ling Zidan. Maybe if he encountered any danger in the future, Chen Qingyun would come and help him. Ling Yuanda had a big vision, but unfortunately, in the environment of the secluded immortal mansion, everyone's every move would be suspected, so that his good intentions were misplaced. After Ling Yuanda, in the next 2 days, Hongrai Taoist and even a Purple Mansion late-stage casual cultivator Hu Chongyuan came one after another. The two had the same goal, both wanted to form a team and cross the foggy area together, but they were rejected by Chen Qingyun at the first time. Unlike cooperation in other places, the foggy area was blocked from sight and there was no spiritual energy supply from heaven and earth. Once there was an internal conflict in the team, the result would not be much better. Being lost in the fog is full of dangers. In addition to being alert to the void monsters, you must also beware of attacks from fellow practitioners. In this world, the most terrifying thing is not the monsters. Monsters are at least straightforward and will not play any tricks. The most terrifying thing is the human heart. After rejecting 3 people in a row, Chen Qingyun's move attracted the attention of the surrounding cultivators, and they all guessed the result. Thinking that their strength was not as good as that of the Taoist Hongrai, several people could only give up the idea of cooperating with Chen Qingyun and look for others. 6 days passed in a blink of an eye. The number of cultivators gathered in this land was reduced from more than a dozen at the beginning to 9, and then new cultivators set foot. So far, after several fights and eliminations. Within a radius of 10 miles, the total number of people remained at 21. And each of them had hidden means and should not be underestimated. On this day, Chen Qingyun, as usual, used puppets to explore the surroundings and search for the figures of Chen Xianmin and Liu Zilin. When approaching the area of the wood spirit realm, a familiar figure was finally found. It was Liu Zilin who had been waiting. However, Liu Zilin was not resting at this time, but fighting with a female cultivator from Yaoang Mountain. Looking closely, Chen Qingyun, the cultivator from Yaoang Mountain, had some impression of him. He had heard Liu Zilin introduce him before. Each of the 5 major sects had a list of participating cultivators for their own cultivators to check, so as to know themselves and the enemy. The one who fought with Liu Zilin was named Zhang Xinling. Her cultivation was in the late Purple Mansion. Her strength was not very high. She was at the middle level among the participants. The reason why she was mentioned was that she had some background. She was a Taoist partner of Zhu Ziheng. With this identity, if you offend this woman, it would be equivalent to offending Zhu Ziheng. The second point was that Zhang Xinling was an insect cultivator. Her insect control method was hard to guard against. She was best at controlling the spirit insects in the sky to attack the opponent and win by numerical advantage. Liu Zilin is not weak, having reached the late stage of the Purple Mansion. Compared with Zhang Xinling, her strength can be said to be even stronger. The battle between the two has entered a white-hot stage. Zhang Xinling held a golden bell magic weapon in her hand, and with the help of this object, she cast the insect control spell. A group of moths flew out of the spirit beast bag and swarmed towards Liu Zilin. 10,000 meters away, Chen Qingyun used a puppet to explore the way and recognize the origin of these moths at a glance. Yin Fu moth. This is a black-gray insect that likes to live in a dim environment and feeds on rotten meat. It is close to the size of an egg. Yin Fu moth is a second-level extreme. Its power lies in that it can devour the flesh and spirit of other creatures. If a cultivator is infected, all his magic power will be devoured. More than 400 Yin Fu moths flew out, looking hideous, moving in the air like thick smoke, and the buzzing sound of flapping wings was particularly clear. Before the swarm of insects approached 2 meters in front of him, a chill came over him. Liu Zilin patted her storage bag, took out a 3-color fan, injected magic power into it, raised her arm and fanned it forward. The 3-flame fan emitted 3-color light, and with the power of wind, it fanned out a bright yellow flame. The 2 forces of wind and fire assisted each other, just right, and the fire spread in an instant, covering a large area. The group of yin rot moths was wrapped in the fire and fell into the sea of fire. The speed of movement slowed down and made crackling sounds. They were burned black one by one, and the insect corpses fell like raindrops, covering a layer of black charcoal on the ground, deader than dead. My spiritual insects. Seeing this scene, Zhang Xinling felt a pain in her flesh, and immediately shook the insect bell in her hand, which rang. Following the order, these yin rot moths scattered one by one, turning into black spots all over the sky, trying to avoid the burning of the flames as much as possible. Liu Zilin looked cold, and continued to attack while winning, and the 3-flame fan continued to fan. The power of fire was exerted, and a blazing flame was swayed, and then the power of wind followed closely. The strength of the wind was just right, fanning the flames to a greater fire. With the blessing of this wind power, the speed of the flames spread faster and more violently. The world was bathed in a sea of fire. Under the burning of this flame, a large number of yin fu moths ignited flames and fell to the ground like sparks. Many spiritual insects in the world are afraid of fire and can be restrained by flames. This yin fu moth is the most typical example. It is afraid of fire and was quickly killed by the attack of the 3-flame fan. Liu Zilin's cold eyes were like lightning. She fanned 3 times in a row, completely destroying the last dozens of yin fu moths in the air. A sea of fire rushed towards Zhang Xinling like a wave. At this time, accompanied by the tinkling of the insect-controlling bell, a strange and harsh sound was emitted. A black spirit insect was summoned and flew out of Zhang Xinling's sleeve, flapping its wings and hovering in the air. This was a beetle-like spirit insect, as black as ink, only as thick as a finger, with a black shell shining with metallic luster. The beetle flashed and condensed a person-sized Dharma image, which was equivalent to an enlarged version of the original body, and pressed in front of Zhang Xinling. The 3 flames of true fire were wheezing and hitting the insect-shaped Dharma image, which was completely blocked. But it was only this much, and it only lasted for a breath. Liu Zilin's attack was extremely fierce and hot, but it still worked. The whole insect-shaped Dharma image was burned red and exploded with a bang. This was a 3rd-level lower-grade Dharma image ghost beetle. Although it did not have any attack power, it had extremely strong defense and could use Dharma images to resist attacks. Unlike magic weapons, this does not require the cultivator's mana to be consumed, and can greatly reduce the mana output of the controller. Chen Qingyun and Liu Zilin did not know much about insect control, and did not recognize this Dharma-like ghost beetle, but they thought it was quite magical. The defense was broken, and Zhang Xinling was decisive in killing, and hurriedly flew back to avoid the invasion of the remaining power of the flame. You are asking for trouble by going against me. Unable to threaten Liu Zilin, Zhang Xinling's expression became fierce, and her palm slapped a spirit beast bag again, shouting, "Go to hell." As soon as the voice fell, the spirit beast bag opened, accompanied by a buzzing sound, and a large number of yellow flying insects swarmed out. Chapter 550 Blood Locust, Green Light Spirit Armor Talisman. This time, the number of insects released by Zhang Xinling was more than 10 times that of the yin rot moth. At a glance, they were locusts, and the number had reached 5 or 6,000. Under the control of Zhang Xinling's bell, they all turned into 3 groups and launched a siege against Liu Zilin from 3 different directions, like 3 red seas of blood moving in the air. Second level inferior, Blood Locust. This locust is blood red all over and very fast. When flying at full speed, it looks like a bloodline, hence the name. Blood locusts eat everything, including plants, gold, iron, and magic tools. If they devour each other and cultivate and tame each other, they can be promoted to the 3rd level. A large number of blood locusts are dispatched. If they are surrounded, the Purple Mansion cultivator can only pray for good luck. Liu Zilin recognized this kind of spiritual insect, took out a talisman from the sleeve of her left hand, activated it instantly, and threw it upwards. The talisman emitted a dazzling light, and a circle of green barrier was scattered, wrapping Liu Zilin in it. The 2nd level top-grade talisman, the Green Light Shield Talisman. Many blood locusts hit the green barrier like raindrops, and exploded one by one. Talisman, Zhang Xinling pinched the seal with one hand, shook the bell in her hand with the other hand, and muttered something. Eat her alive for me. Under the control of the bell, a large number of blood locusts temporarily gave up the collision, but lay firmly on the green light shield, revealing their sharp teeth, and began to eat frantically. According to their innate ability and eating speed, this layer of defense can be eaten up and become food in their stomachs. Knowing the extraordinariness of the blood locusts and realizing that the power of the green light shield was weakening, Liu Zilin raised her eyebrows. She no longer passively defended, and sacrificed a book-shaped magic weapon, revealing waves of the breath of a top-grade magic weapon. With a loud bang, Liu Zilin exploded the green light spirit shield, killing hundreds of blood locusts. As the book flipped, the flowing fire, sword energy, flying thorns, lightning, ice and other attacks poured out, and also turned into 3 forces to meet the panicked insect swarm. The huge insect swarm was hit by these attacks, burned, frozen, pierced, electrocuted, etc., and 70% to 80% were destroyed at once. A large number of locust corpses fell to the ground, shocking Zhang Xinling's nerves. Zhang Xinling's face was gloomy, and she had to let the remaining insect swarms disperse to avoid, but it didn't work at all. The insect swarm continued to be overwhelmed by the attacks from the Golden Sparrow book and was destroyed in a few seconds. Damn it, if it were in the outside world, how could you be my opponent? Due to the rules of the Escape Immortal Mansion, all spirit insects larger than the size of an egg cannot fly. This made Zhang Xinling feel depressed, and some of the cultivated spirit insects could not be controlled at all to exert their peak combat power. She could only rely on the small, large-scale spirit insects such as Yanfu moth and bloodline locust to win, and gain the upper hand with the advantage of numbers. However, these methods that she was once proud of did not play much role in front of Liu Zilin, but were restrained. Liu Zilin's weapon refining skills have improved significantly in recent years, and she has reached the 3rd level top-grade attainments. The 3 flame fan, the Golden Sparrow book, and even several other top-grade magic weapons in her hand were all made by her and can be used together. From the perspective of the battle situation, Liu Zilin has actually gained the upper hand and will soon win the battle. And she does not need Chen Qingyun to help. Swish. A sword light broke through the air, drawing a long stream of light, revealing a dazzling sword light. At this time, Chen Qingyun arrived here, found the right time, and controlled the sword immortal puppet to join the battle, and directly swung the sword to slash at Zhang Xinling. Who is it? Faced with this sudden sword, Zhang Xinling's expression changed, and she quickly offered a gourd magic weapon to resist in front of her. The gourd magic weapon was made of hard material. Under the urging of magic power, it blocked the attack of the flying sword with a bang and blocked the flying sword in the air. Seeing that the gourd magic weapon was so hard. Chen Qingyun's expression moved, and he controlled the sword fairy puppet to attack again. The flying sword's power remained undiminished, and it continued to be controlled by the sword fairy puppet, bursting out with stronger power to cut forward. Then there was a bang, and the gourd magic weapon was finally cut open by a sword because it was only of the upper grade. Ah! Zhang Xinling screamed, and at the critical moment, the protective inner armor on her body automatically took effect, blocking the flying sword for her without any danger. It was the protective inner armor again, and Chen Qingyun's eyes were full of lightning. Merciless. The sword fairy puppet continued to control the flying sword and perform the gold magic. The flying sword was suspended in the air, and with a wave of the hand, it suddenly split into 9 flying swords, stabbing Zhang Xinling head-on. Facing the attack, Zhang Xinling had the intention of retreating. At the critical moment, she could only slap the spirit beast bag with her palm, summon the second and third Dharma phase ghost beetles on her body, and respond with all her strength. The 2 spirit insects exerted their innate magical powers, each condensed a Dharma phase shell the size of a person, trying to resist the attack of the 9 flying swords. But how powerful was the sword fairy puppet? And could it kill this woman alone? The 9 flying swords were unstoppable, and after contacting the Dharma phase shell, they made 2 loud noises and penetrated the 2 layers of defense in succession. What? The trump card method was useless and was broken, and Zhang Xinling's eyes were full of fear. She could only watch the flying sword pierce through her body fiercely, breaking the protective inner armor, and the whole person was firmly nailed to the ground. My husband is Zhuxiantu. At the moment of death, with the last bit of life still not dissipated, Zhang Xinling stared unwillingly, blood gushing from her mouth, and raised her hand with difficulty to point at the sword immortal puppet. How dare you kill me? The sword immortal puppet was cold and ruthless. He struck hard with the immortal sword in his hand, crushing Zhang Xinling's Danshan and soul, and killed the medicine king Shanchong Ziyu with 2 moves. The other party thought that announcing his home and moving out Zhu Ziheng would deter the enemy, but it had no effect at all in front of Chen Qingyun. On the contrary, Chen Qingyun became more determined to kill him. Qingyun? After identifying the sword immortal puppet, Liu Zilin looked happy and stepped forward immediately. The sword fairy puppet put away the sword and nodded slightly to Liu Zilin in response. Great. It's really you. Liu Zilin looked even happier. She was sure that Chen Qingyun was nearby and immediately looked around. You're around here? In the distance, a figure came quickly and approached Liu Zilin. If it wasn't Chen Qingyun, who could it be? Qingyun. Seeing that Chen Qingyun himself appeared, Liu Zilin rushed over quickly. The person she had longed for finally saw her now. At the same time, somewhere neither of them noticed. A black gold cicada the size of a fingernail was hovering in the air, watching the battle from beginning to end. Seeing Zhang Xinling being beheaded, the cicada no longer lingered, fluttering its wings and flying into the distance. Soon after, the cicada fell into the hands of a young girl wearing a gauze, with bright eyes and white teeth, and a somewhat charming look. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.